Be cool, be kind, be classy. The cupcakes are sweet and sexy. Have fun and enjoy the journey. Or just have a good attorney. No big whoop, no biggie. She lives near New York City. And not just a YouTube show. When you know, you better grab a straw. Learn about the law. It's cool here in the shade, sipping motions of lemonade. Cool heads will prevail, kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Oh, Melanie Little is going live. Oh no, where is Melanie? Follow the island's melody. There's a concert within reach. No surprise, she's at Jones Beach. She heard some music far away. Captain Jack Stack Harbor Bay. He sings and his piano plays. Not all sounds are waterways. Speaking Yiddish and Latin, it's not just for Manhattan. It's for Goethe and Machegas. Ridiculousness that insanus. Oy vey, Marcus. Proset, that's for schmucks. Be cool, be kind, be classy. My cupcakes are sweet and sassy. And not just a YouTube show. When you know. Cool heads will prevail. Kindness will never fail. Be classy and vastly wise. Melanie Little is going live.
Hello, my friends, and Happy New Year again. For those of you who weren't here yesterday, when we did part 1 of this stream, Happy New Year. Today is Friday, January 3rd of 2025, which is so weird. But you know what? Now that nobody writes checks anymore, it doesn't really matter because we don't have to really remember the year, right? When's the last time you wrote a check? Because I remember that being the big problem. Every time the year would change, you'd be writing the wrong year on the checks. It is now 2025. Do you know where your children are? Crazy. Okay, so for those of you, this is completely last minute. I was looking on YouTube for something to watch, and I couldn't find something to watch. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make something to watch. I'm going to come hang out with you guys because there was nothing on for me to watch. And also because I have a couple of pet peeves. One of my pet peeves is being late. I hate being late. It gives me so much anxiety. I would rather be early than late, and being late stresses me out. Second thing that stresses me out is not finishing a job. And I feel like we did not finish everything that we were talking about with regard to Richard Green. And so I didn't want to leave you hanging. I didn't want to leave myself hanging. I felt like we didn't even get to the cross on Richard Green, Lally's cross, yesterday when we did this with Olivia. So for those of you who are just joining and didn't see the first part of this stream, I'll give you a little primer on what we are talking about, a little rundown, a little synopsis of the motion that has been made by the latest motion to be made by the Commonwealth, because it's kind of like we don't want any evidence that may hurt us to come into the case. So we're going to start making all these motions to preclude your experts now, including asking for another Daubert Lanigan hearing on Richard Green. Because in their opinion, I'll put this up for you, because if you haven't seen it yet, you kind of have to see it to just get the full effect of it. Docket number 448. This is the Commonwealth's motion to exclude defense witness Richard Green's debunked opinions. So it's not debunked, that's in quotes. It's opinions, that's in quotes. It's a very juvenile title for a motion. I've never seen anything quite like that. Typically, you would say motion to exclude certain portions of expert witness Richard Green's testimony, or you would say motion for Daubert hearing, but you wouldn't say motion to exclude defense witness Richard Green's debunked, in quotes, opinions, because Ipsy Dixit, my friends, Ipsy Dixit, because he said so. He said they're debunked, and so therefore, Your Honor, you should just not even let him come in and testify as to certain things regarding Jennifer McCabe only, which is wild. Because again, here we go. Here we go, defending the Albertson and the McCabes. That's the MO. That's the game plan, friends. It's the game plan. If you weren't sure of it before, you're going to be sure of it after this. So this motion is asking the court to exclude the proposed expert testimony of Richard Green relative to only two issues: the claim that Jennifer McCabe's phone Googled how long TI die in CIKD, or Haas long to die in cold, at any time prior to 6:23 a.m. on January 29th of 2022, and that Jennifer McCabe's phone incurred user deletions of any data related to Google searches. Well, it says Google searches in the first paragraph, but then in the very last paragraph, it asks for exclusion of any claim that Jennifer McCabe's phone incurred user deletions of any data. So we're not really sure what they're asking for. It's not very clear. Seems to me like this is made purely for show and press and for, I guess, people like me to come on and talk about it. And Olivia is here, and she says this entire motion was purely for the media. Oh, look at that. We agree. Go figure. Hank Brennan provided no factual support or affidavit for his request. That's right. It is facially deficient, facially insufficient as a matter of law. There is no affidavit attached to this self-serving motion. And then Olivia says he purposely put debunk in the title so it's picked up for media headlines. In my opinion, I share your opinion. It's raining lies. It's raining lies, says Bull Cut lineup. It's raining lies. So yeah, that's the thing. It's facially insufficient in that it does not contain an affidavit from someone with personal knowledge, such as even an attorney. It's merely a motion that attaches a new report from Ian Whiffen, the Commonwealth's expert, who testified for, I don't remember how long, but it was basically a long infomercial for his own app that he developed called Art Tech. He claims to work for Celebrite. I don't know if Celebrite knows that he's doing this, because what he's doing is getting out there and trash and Celebrite on the stand. And in these papers, in footnote 1, the Commonwealth says Celebrite is the leading forensic data extraction software tool that provides forensic examiners the ability to access and analyze data stored within a digital device. So it's the leading forensic tool, right, for cell phones. And then he tells us in the next paragraph, Mr. Whiffen has now supplemented a new report. He's drafted a new report, a 40-page report, mind you, dated December 2024. So they've paid him again. And in his report, he says, let me just say, Ian Whiffen report dated, it's not an affidavit, it's a report. Reports are not sworn to under the pains and penalties of perjury. No, it's just a report. Take our word. Trust us, brah. Trust us. Trust us, brah. Mr. Whiffen provides, I can state with absolute certainty that there is no evidence whatsoever on this device that the Google searches Haas long to die in sicked or Haas long to die in cold occurred prior to 6:23 a.m. on the 29th of January, 2022. Moreover, Mr. Whiffen also concludes now that there is no evidence that the user tried to delete any search history or that tampering occurred with any of the data I examined. Consequently, he says self-servingly in this motion, which is not an affidavit and not sworn to, Mr. Green's testimony on these two issues is wrong, factually unsupported, and should not be admitted at the jury trial in this matter because I said so, Your Honor, because I said so, because Mr. Green disagrees with my expert, Your Honor, and therefore you should just ban his testimony. I've dealt with many an expert witness in my time as a civil litigator and trial lawyer, and let me tell you something. Expert witnesses are hired to give opinion testimony. experts give opinions. Opinions are countered by battling experts. That's why it's called the Battle of the Experts. That's why experts testify to a reasonable degree of medical certainty or to a reasonable degree of scientific certainty. If you ask 5 lawyers for an opinion, you may get 5 different opinions. The jury is the finder of fact in a jury trial, and the jury, their entire job, their purpose is to determine the facts, weigh the evidence, credibility, and decide which expert they believe and which expert they don't believe. I've never seen anything quite like it. But again, we are in the twilight zone. We're in the upside down. And if you'd like to hear a full reading of that motion, you are welcome. I've linked the video below. What I'd like to do tonight is go over, because I realize a lot of you are new to this case, and you're either new to it because you watched the trial or because you became interested in it after the trial with the post-trial shenanigans, tomfoolery, and ballyhoo after the mistrial. And many of you did not watch the pre-trial coverage. So you may not know that in April of 2023, the defense made a motion to get Brian Albert's cell phone records. It's a Rule 17 motion because it involves third-party discovery. And all the way back in the day, April 2023, Richard Green drafted an affidavit in support of that motion. I have that affidavit here. Many of you may not remember that motion, but I think you're going to like it because not only does it contain the extraction of John O'Keefe's Apple Health data, his steps, his movements, it also includes the same for Jennifer McCabe's phone, as well as her heart rate. And I think many of you may be very interested in that information because you might not know that information. Oh, thank you for asking, Law Girls Not Attorneys podcast. The movie, the Bob Dylan movie starring Timothée Chalamet as Bob Dylan. For the life of me, I can't remember the name of it because it's a lyric, A Complete Unknown, right? From like a Rolling Stone. I thought it was excellent. I thought the girl who plays Joan Baez was amazing. Elle Fanning is in it. It took me until the movie was over to realize that it was Ed Norton that was playing Pete Seeger. Had no idea that was Ed Norton for the entire 2-hour and 20-minute movie. But it was amazing. Highly recommend. Go see it if you can. I'm big fan of Bob Dylan's music. Not really a big fan of Bob Dylan himself because he's kind of a dick. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Last night, we went over that motion at length, and then we watched the testimony of Richard Green, and we got up to the very end of his direct examination. What we didn't watch was Lally's cross. We're going to watch Lally's cross. Then we're going to go back. We're going to read Richard Green's affidavit from, its date stamp is April 12th of 2023. And then what I think would be very interesting to do, and if you're up for it, we'll do it. We can watch the hearing on this motion, which was on May 24th of 2023. It's kind of fun sometimes to go back in time and watch it. And because Canton Community TV is amazing, I have the video of it. So happy Friday. I'm here for it. If you're up for it, let's do it. All right. Going back now to the testimony of Richard Green at the first persecution of Karen Read. This took place on June 21st of 2024. So here, first, let me thank Justin Green for coming in, and he asked me with a Cash App. He said, "You think ARCA's going to be next? They're going to try and exclude them or ask for a Daubert hearing? Probably. Donnie Not Wahlberg, thank you for gifting membership. SB gifting 10 memberships. That's really sweet. Thank you. And to the 10 new members who were randomly chosen by YouTube as new members, welcome. I think you're going to like it here. Smash the like button, everyone, because it helps a girl out on a Friday night. on a last minute stream that nobody got a notification on. So don't feel bad if you didn't get one. Attorney Wannabe, thanks for the 5. So happy that I finally caught a live show with Melanie. Oh, that's amazing. Thanks for coming in. How will this new trial ever find jurors who aren't already biased? That's a great question. That is a great question. That is what a good voir dire does. Jury selection questions. I don't know. I think it's a phenomenal question. How many of you raise your hands in the chat if you watched the Brian Camp trial with me? The Brian Camp trial took place in Hampshire County, Massachusetts, and those jurors just seem to get it up there. I don't know. It might be nice to go to Hampshire County. Like, the judge was pretty cool too. I don't know, because I think a lot of people in Norfolk County are afraid of what could happen to them if they go against the people who seem to run the town, who were staring them down during the closing arguments. I mean, come on, you want to talk about witness intimidation? What was that about? Right? Thank you, Live Less. Every time I try and say your name, my tongue gets twisted. Live, Laugh, Toaster, Bath. Thank you for introducing us to Olivia. Between your legal mind and her tech genius, truly wish you two could be part of the trial. Well, we can be here breaking it all down for you. I'd almost rather be doing that because I enjoy your company so much. So thank you for that. And if you, some people came in the comments and they're like, who is this chick Olivia? Where's she been? She's been on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, then maybe you don't know, but her, I'll have her Twitter scrolling below here. She's at Olivia Lambo on Twitter. She's here in the chat. She can help answer some questions. Thank you, KR Fairfield, for becoming a YouTube member. And the super chats that are addressed. Okay, so we're going to go back. We're going to watch the cross of Richard Green, and we are going to talk about it. And I like to stop it and talk about it while it's going on. So if you're new here, that's what I do. I'm a legal commentator. I got to do it. Fair use. Also, sometimes I just can't keep my mouth shut. And I can't hold it until the end because I feel like I really, really, really got to tell you something right now, or explain it to you right now, or talk about it right now, because it's just who I am. It's what I do. All right, so let's go back here where we were last night. Okay, here's Judge Canoni swinging her glasses around in her chair back on June 21st of 2024. How many of you remember all the way back? June 21st, 2024. It feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? It really does. All right, this was the end of Richard Green's testimony. I got the closed captions on so you can hear it better. If the volume is too low, I can also lower my volume, but yesterday it seemed to be working okay. So here we go.
And the calls that were before 8:50 a.m. on January 29th of 2022.
Yeah, well, it's the state they were found in, deleted versus live data.
So this is at the very end of his testimony. I'm just going to recap this portion of it where he talks about looking at Jennifer McCabe's cell phone extraction and which calls on her phone were deleted.
Deleted data at the earlier time and live data after the 8:59:34.
What percentage of phone calls were found deleted on Jennifer McCabe's phone prior to 8:50 a.m. on January 29th?
So all right, I have to see you. Take this down for a minute, please.
I have to see you. I have to see you. She doesn't even wait for Lally to object. She doesn't even say, Lally, would you like to make an objection? She just stops it, takes the exhibit off the screen, calls the attorneys up to the stand. You know why? Because the answer to that question is 100% of those calls were deleted. So here we go. Olivia's Twitter handle is scrolling along the bottom of the screen. Hi, Burning Queen. Scrolling along the bottom of the screen. For anybody who wants it, Patronus Glow is here. Hi, how are you? It's been a while. Welcome back. Welcome back, Patronus Glow, one of our amazing moderators.
Counsel.
So they go to one of their wicked long sidebars, and then they come back.
Clear if you understood it. If it's not, please let me know. But I had asked you from the first recorded call there that was listed as deleted until 8:50
We went over it
a.m. or
last
so.
time.
what percentage of calls were deleted on Jen McCabe's phone within that time period?
Yeah, so we found no live data, so 100% of them would have been
100%.
deleted.
All the calls.
Now, are you aware of the term spontaneous deletion?
No, sir. I know what the individual words mean, but in relation to digital forensics, I'm not familiar with that term.
Like
And,
spontaneous
do you have an
combustion?
opinion as to how those calls would have been deleted from that phone?
Those would have been user deleted.
User deleted.
Sure.
The user did it.
No further questions. Thank you, sir.
Okay, here comes Mr. Lally. Remember how his demeanor totally changed? So wild.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
My pleasure. I take my job very seriously.
Do you know who Miss Jessica Hyde is?
I do.
Are you aware that she wrote a report in relation to this case,
Yes.
specifically in regard to the Google searches for Ms. McCabe's phone that you were just talking about?
Yes, sir. It was very specific about that search.
Yes,
And
we
have
went
you
over
had
it
a chance
already.
to review that report?
Okay, hold on.
I have.
Hold on. This is part 2, ProHawk VJ. We did go over that already yesterday. I will pull it up again. There's only 2 things on it. The first thing is the 40-page report of Ian Whiffen, the new report that we were just referring to. The other thing is a 6-page anonymous letter from somebody that we have no idea who it is to ADA Laura McLaughlin. It doesn't mean that it's evidentiary in any way. It doesn't mean it's ever going to see the light of day or the inside of a courtroom or the trial. Nothing was attached. We only got the one sheet on that. So no idea what it is. Who knows? Maybe it's Yellow Cottage Cheese's amicus brief. I have no idea, but thank you for reminding me to catch those people up who didn't see that yesterday. Thanks, sweetie, for the super chat. And V Caser, let the lally splain it begin. Lally flop, lally flop. I miss our playlists or chats. It's kind of bringing me back. We're going to, this is coming up, right, son? It's coming up. He's going to talk about how Karen's GPS was deleted. So hang on, everyone. No spoilers.
You also know who Ian Whiffen is.
Certainly, yes.
And are you aware that he wrote several reports or submitted several items in relation to, again, the exact topic that you're testifying about in relation to the Google searches on Ms. McCabe's phone?
Yes, sir. I understand that.
And have you had a chance to review those materials as well?
Yes, sir.
You understand that they both disagree with what your opinion is in relation to those searches?
I absolutely understand that, sir.
That's why it's called Battle of the Experts, lally flop. Lally flop. They're hired for their opinions. One of them you had to go to Canada to find. The other one got a really, really crappy and dirty Zoom feed. The camera pointing up at her chin. And yes, he does. And he's very, very kind. I forgot how kind Richard Green was. A lot of people mistake kindness for weakness, right? So a lot of the people who hate Karen Reed and want to, hang her in town square with the rest of the Salem witches or burn her at the stake. I'm not quite sure what exactly they're going after here. Don't understand that. You don't always have to confuse kindness with weakness. He's far more qualified and experienced than either one of those 2 Commonwealth experts. But we'll get to that.
Now, just as far as your qualifications and certifications go, I'm just having a difficult time. From the certifications that
I'm having a difficult time with your qualifications and certifications. Here we go. Here we go. And there is Madam Court Reporter talking into somebody's athletic supporter. It looks like, tell me that does not look like an athletic supporter. A cup. I mean, it does to me. You guys have weird things going on in Massachusetts. New York, we use a, steno machine.
you have, at what point were you, or what, if any, certifications do you have with reference to Cellbrite as a tool, as far as your use and interpretation of data from Cellbrite?
Certainly. So my certifications are much more broad. They have to do with a lot of the fundamentals and how we conduct the investigations and what tools we should know and when we need to know we need to do more work and such like that. Cellbrite, I do not have any specific Cellbrite certifications. They offer many of them. However, I have participated in, God, I can't even count, hundreds of their training events that they offer.
Hundreds of training events, hundreds of Cellbrite training events. Okay. There's no rule that says you need to be Cellbrite certified to testify as an expert. You know what that's a great thing for? It's a great thing for it's a great way for Cellbrite to make money, giving out certifications to use their own software. It means it's a piece of paper. It's a great thing to put on your resume, I guess, if you're looking for a job. But if you're a guy like Green who's been doing this for close to 30 years, you don't need a Cellbrite certification for anything. It's a piece of paper. He's taking hundreds of their training events, hundreds.
Both Cellbrite, Axiom, Belkasoff, they all provide the community with fantastic support as far as that. And although certainly a class can be very good, but you really need to stay up to speed. You've got to participate in the most recent understanding being put out there. Even in the changes of their tools will change from one version to another.
And so, to the point, as far as you have no certifications in regard to Cellbrite as a tool and how to use it, those kinds of things.
That's correct, sir.
Wait, does anybody know if Garino is Cellbrite certified? Did the Commonwealth pay for Garino to get a Cellbrite certification? Somebody, I know you guys are amazing with the Google and all. You can just go to Cellbrite's website and look up their courses and certifications and how much it costs to get certified. And I don't remember if Garino was Cellbrite certified, but like I said, it's a piece of paper that means pretty much nothing.
Specific instance, at any point, did you reach out to Cellbrite to go over sort of your findings or your opinions in relation to this search?
I did.
And who, if anyone, did you speak with from Cellbrite?
As close as I can remember, I know it was Leo, and I believe it was Santos.
And do you know what part of Cellbrite they work in or what they do?
Well, he was in the technical support and contacted him. He had informed me that they had elevated this up to some higher level technical support when they came back. His comments to me, if you want to hear them, was that this. Okay.
That's his comments, but at
Okay,
some point,
I understand.
you talked to technical support. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And they indicated that.
In case you were not aware and you weren't with us yesterday, Richard Green has testified over 2,000 times in state and federal court. Over 2,000 times he's been certified and qualified as an expert witness in over 2,000 cases all over the United States in state and federal courts. And he did call Cellbrite because I think he was alerting them to perhaps a glitch in their software or something, or he wanted an explanation. But that's not so unusual. You know why? Because remember how many times Garino contacted Burla and went to their sales table at some event that he was at because he couldn't figure out how to download the text stream data from the Lexus?
They would refer you to actually Mr. Whiffin's team?
No, sir, they did not.
So you weren't told that you were referred to Mr. Whiffin's team, and you weren't contacted by anyone from Mr. Whiffin's team?
No, and I forget the exact date. A couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, out of the blue, I got an email from Ms. Whiffin saying, and I can't. I don't want to misquote them, but certainly I got an email from him.
I'm not asking you about any specific conversation
Okay.
you had. When I'm asking about a time.
He keeps pushing this, and I'm trying to figure out why. He keeps pushing whether or not Green spoke to Whiffin. Did Whiffin testify that he spoke to Green? Because he's talking about tech support. And then he says, well, did and that's what Whiffin, I think, pretty much is, right? Tech support. And I don't know why he keeps pushing this question, but Green says I never spoke to Ian Whiffen, except he did reach out to me like a couple of weeks ago, he said. So listen to this.
Period more back in 2022.
I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear you.
Back in 2022, did you reach out to Cellbrite in relation to this search and your opinions related to it?
Yes, sir.
And at that point, was that the point that you spoke to someone from technical support?
Yes, sir.
And at that point, did someone from technical support actually refer you or tell you that they were referring you to Mr. Whiffen's team?
No, sir. I had absolutely no idea about that.
So no one from Mr. No one from Mr. Whiffen's team reached out to you, and then you just never called them back. That didn't happen.
Not that I'm aware.
Lana points out Whiffen doesn't have a team. That's because Whiffen is a salesman, not an engineer.
Now, you were asked to look at a couple different phones, and I'm assuming by counsel for the defendant, correct?
Can you say that once again? I'm sorry.
You were asked to look at 3 different phones, is what your testimony was. And I'm assuming
Correct.
that was by some counsel for the defendant, correct?
But,
No one else asked you to look at these phones,
oh,
correct?
correct. Yes, it was from the defense asked me to. Yes.
And so the phones that you were asked to look at were Mr. O'Keefe's phone, the defendant's phone, and Ms. McCabe's phone, correct?
Correct.
Now, as far as Kerry Roberts' phone, were you ever asked to look at that?
No.
And with respect to the defendant's phone, was there any GPS location information or data that you observed in her phone?
Okay, listen up. Listen up. With regard to Karen Reed's phone, was there any GPS information or data that you observed in her phone? For those of you who are wondering, this is the defense expert, Richard Green. Cell phone forensics.
So we had an indication that location had been using. There was something called Apple Map tiles, and those probably when you use the Apple Map app, that it in order for it to work, it will create these little tiles or little pieces of pictures, and they get stitched together to give you the view that you see on your phone. Now, for that had to be working, we know location data had to be working. This particular location data, the location data cache, is known to only be present on the phone for a couple weeks. Now, what I don't know, and Mr. Lally, if I'm going too far, just please stop me. What I don't know are what measures were taken to preserve that data, whether it was put in airplane mode, where the location services were turned off, whether it was put in a Faraday bag.
Nobody knows. Does anybody know? Did anybody testify about what they did with Karen's phone once they seized it with maybe not a warrant on January 29th of 2022? Here it is. Here it comes. Ready?
And quite frankly, Mr. Lowry, I don't know if they did all that, if the location data would have remained or not. I've never tested that, but all indications it would have had location data on the day that it was seized, because we received the Apple Map tile. But when I got the full extraction, there was no location data there. Now, I did observe.
So there was no
Okay.
GPS location data on the defendant's phone, correct? From what you observed.
And again, if I'm, I did find deleted location data from April of 2022.
Deleted location data from April of 2022. Where was Karen's phone in April of 2022? Oh, that's right. It was in possession of the Massachusetts State Police. Can anybody remind me, because I'm just forgetting, and I know somebody probably knows, what was the date of the group messages between Michael Proctor and his buddies from like elementary school, or whenever it was that he was texting with, his buddies from the MSP, where he said he was looking for nudes? Were those messages from April of 2022? Because we know he had his hands on the phone that day when he was looking for nudes. Anybody remember the date? I don't think it was January 29th. We might have to go back and watch Proctor's testimony, or somebody can at some point. But I mean, the date that those messages were sent, where he said he was looking for nudes, or the date where he was, texting with his buddies, and his buddies were like, "Oh, well, I heard, she was found on a Canton, the lawn of a Boston cop. He's going to take a lot of shit." And the guy was like, and he's like, and there was one word from Proctor. Nope. He's a cop too. Libby says, I can talk more about this issue sometime with you, but the GPS location data was deliberately deleted in April 22, which wasn't the result of an auto deletion as it would have occurred much sooner. Yep. Yep. People are trying to say, Olivia, also because people have sent me tweets of other people who are trying to say, well, Karen could have accessed that phone and that data from her MacBook or something, and she could have wiped it herself. And that's what they're thinking happened. But I'm sure you know that that's not possible.
Now, with respect to the defendant's phone, did you also find deleted web history data from the afternoon of January?
See how Lally just like goes right by that? Listen, let's hear that again.
And again, if there was
The reason that he's being this way and he doesn't want to overstep, in my opinion, is because he's testified 2,000 times. Okay. He knows what hearsay is. He knows when he's about to say something that's going to be objected to as hearsay. So, and he, I think, can figure out, or maybe he's been watching some of the other expert testimony, which he's allowed to do. And he's seen Lally's style and he realizes maybe he's not that experienced. And so he's trying to be courteous. Again, he's like, if I'm going too far, just let me know.
I did find deleted location data from April of 2022.
He didn't
Now,
want that.
with
Hear the
respect
cough?
to the defendant's phone, did you also find deleted web history data from the afternoon of January 29th, 2022?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't observe that.
Didn't observe it or didn't look for it?
You know, I really don't have a recollection if I specifically looked for deleted data. I don't believe I did. I don't know if I would have had to have a cause to.
Now, with reference to, you were asked some question about location accuracy within 3 feet. You did some sort of thing last night on CellHawk using that tool. Is that correct?
Certainly.
And you were asked to do that after Trooper Guarino testified yesterday. Is that correct?
I understand you testified yesterday.
And so with relation to you creating sort of that document, and that's now been marked as an exhibit, was that something that Mr. Yannetti asked you to do in relation to Trooper Guarino's testimony yesterday?
Well, in all fairness, you need to ask Mr. Yannetti. I could make an assumption here. I mean, if
I'm not.
I don't know quite.
Doing anything.
I'm not trying not to answer you, you know, but I was asked by Mr. Yannetti to perform that search.
So, Mr. Lally, please be cautious of that.
Yes.
Please be cautious, Mr.
So, Ms. Green,
Cautioned
with
Lally.
respect to that 3 feet of accuracy, are you aware that what Trooper Guarino was testifying to in regard to that had absolutely nothing to do with phone applications or anything to do with data from phone or CellHawk or a tool or anything like that?
Now, I don't know the full extent of what Mr. Guarino would have been testifying to.
And so you're not aware that his testimony was actually in regard to reviewing cruiser camera video from the Canton Police Department and photographs of where Mr. O'Keefe's body was, and then mapping that using GPS latitude.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lally. Were there photographs of where Mr. O'Keefe's body was? Chat, remind me. Were there any photographs of where John O'Keefe's body was? Any markers, any sketch outline, any preservation of the scene, any evidence markers, anything? Any photographs of where Mr. O'Keefe's body was? Because I didn't see him, and I watched the whole trial with you guys. Let's hear that again.
Aware that his testimony was actually in regard to reviewing cruiser camera video from the Canton Police Department and photographs of where Mr. O'Keefe's body was, and then mapping that using GPS latitude and longitude.
Objection.
Based on that within a 3 feet accuracy.
Olivia and I talked about this yesterday, so you'll have to go back to yesterday's stream for further deep dive into this. But based on the latitude and longitude within 3 feet of accuracy with his yardstick and his compass, like, you know, like, remember the compass you needed when you were in elementary school, Gen Xers? That was a little metal thing that you had, and it was pointy on one side and then on another point, and then you would draw a circle. It's pretty much what they did here. Let's look at that again. There were no photos of where John O'Keefe's body was found.
video from the Canton Police Department and photographs of where Mr. O'Keefe's body was, and then mapping that using GPS latitude and longitude
Objection.
based on that within a 3 feet accuracy.
The objection sustained. Ask it differently.
Are you aware of any of what Trooper Guarino testified to yesterday?
What you're mentioning, I may vaguely be remembering, and again, I'm not trying to not answer your question exactly. My conversation with Mr. Yannetti is 3 foot when it comes to GPS data. Can you tell 3 feet from GPS data? And no, it's not known to be that reliable, and particularly Apple location services.
Interesting.
How that applies to the trooper's testimony.
And he's trying not to laugh as he says, you know, well, like whatever he did with his yardstick and compass, and like Boston Mass 781 points out, they lost the original camera that was used to take the crime scene photographs. Just like they lost a lot of things in this case. Yeah.
I can't say with specificity.
They got the
I'm
protractors
happy
out.
to
That's what I was
opine on
thinking.
location data, though.
There's no question.
Okay.
Thank you.
And then he tries to answer a question, and Larry's like, there's no question. Hold on. He's like, I'm happy to opine on that for you. So no.
I'm happy to opine on location data, though.
There's no question.
Okay.
But thank you.
It's getting spicy. Lally's getting spicy.
I'm gonna have a moment, Sean.
Sure.
Take all the moments, Mr. Lally. They lost the camera. Yes, okay, they did. They had an original, like a digital camera, and they lost it. Here it is. Olivia says, the original camera they used was on an iPhone that was since destroyed or gotten rid of to
Now,
explain.
sir,
To explain for the why the metadata was stripped from all the crime scene photos, thus no dates nor times. Yeah.
with reference to Safari and deleted tabs, isn't it true that there is no way for a user to delete a tab, only to close it? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, when you close a tab, all right, you're taking it out of the active state, and it's going to an inactive state that some people could call deleted. Now, the Safari history allows you to go in and delete history by certain date ranges, but you can also go into specific websites that you visited and delete those. Now, if you want me to continue, the WAL file itself, you can't open up a WAL file and say, oh, I want to delete that record. But functioning the phone through the user interfaces will have an effect of deleting data within that WAL file.
Isn't it also true that Cellebrite uses that red X to annotate that the record is no longer active and has been recovered, which would then make it incumbent upon the examiner, being you in this instance, to determine if it was actually deleted, correct?
Yes, sir. Thank you for asking. It's yes.
That's all I'm asking.
Okay. All right.
Thinks he's so much smarter than everyone.
Now, you stated in your affidavit, in your testimony, that you used the Sanderson, SQLite, or SQLite Forensic Explorer to examine the Safari tabs DB associated with the WAL file log. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, in your analysis using that Sanderson Forensic Explorer, was there an indication that House Long to Die in Cold was found in the WAL file?
Yes, sir.
Now, with regard
It
to
was found in the WAL file. Okay. So then he just kind of like lets it go. Okay. He doesn't follow up. I feel like he's got all of his questions written down and he has to go by his script because he's not good at pivoting, right? When you're questioning a witness, you have to be ready to pivot based on their answer, because when you're questioning, especially when you're crossing a witness, you're never supposed to ask a question you don't know the answer to for sure. And it's like he's trying to lead him into an answer, and then this witness takes like the opposite turn, and Lally just lets it go. He doesn't follow up. The day that I was in, was it the day that I was in court? I can't recall, but it was dark in the courtroom because the lights were off and there was something up on the screen. And Lally had to go back by the window so that he could see his notes because he was unable to proceed questioning the witness without looking at his notes. And you need to be able to think on your feet. If the witness goes a certain way and you need to pursue that line of questioning, you can't be married to what's on your page. You just can't. And you see how this is kind of tripping him up here.
To that, did you independently verify the cause of that timestamp that you observed there?
Yes, sir.
Now, is it your interpretation that the timestamp means the search appeared at that time solely based on the naming of the field in the database?
No, sir.
Now, can a wall file contain items that are so new that they're not yet committed to the database?
Yes, sir. That's the purpose of it.
So the wall file holds the newest information until it's merged to the database, including additions, deletions, changes, all of those items, correct?
That is correct.
Now, according to your affidavit, the device was in active use between 2:23 a.m. and 2:31 a.m. And just to be clear, I'm talking about Ms. McCabe's device, correct?
Correct.
And what other searches did you see at that time, and where were they performed?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I couldn't quite hear you.
Searches did you observe in that time frame, and where were they performed?
So he didn't say it any louder. And remember, nobody in the courtroom can hear Lally because he's mumbling, and they've had to turn off the air conditioning a number of times for witnesses that were not loud enough. And he can't understand him. But instead of saying it louder, he just says it meaner. Listen. He said, I couldn't quite hear. And then he just gets nastier. He doesn't get louder.
About Ms. McCabe's device, correct?
Correct.
And what other searches did you see at that time, and where were they performed?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I couldn't quite hear you.
Searches did you observe in that time frame, and where were they performed?
And he speaks over him.
Well, there were a number of websites, including the Rainy Men exhibit that we did. There was Ozone Basketball, I believe. There are Hockermont, Smith. And I can tell you that those, similarly, the last entry with those there is the browser state DB.
I don't want to turn
it's
it
not
up.
at the beginning. It's not at the end.
Thanks, Coffee Cake, for your 5. But why do you need me to turn it up? There's not that much left. So, no, I'd prefer not to, because I'd prefer to hear the cadence of Lally and the cadence of the witness together. I'm sorry, but you could watch it on replay and speed it up for yourself. But thank you. Thanks for the 5.
And I have a couple thoughts on why that may be in regards to Ms. Hyde and Ms. Whippen. I'm happy to share those with you.
I'm not asking you anything about that, sir.
Very
What I'm
good.
asking is it possible for a change request in the wall to a SQLite database pertaining to one particular field, leaving the other fields as what they were previously?
I want to answer your question as well as I can. So can you repeat that one more time?
Right, because his
it
question
possible-
doesn't make any sense. That's the thing. He's not being obstinate. He's like, your question doesn't make any sense. Who wrote these questions for you? Let's hear it again.
That may be in regards to Ms. Hyde and Ms. Whippen. I'm happy to share those with you.
Mhm.
I'm not asking you anything.
See, I would have redirected him on that. Share those with me. What are those opinions you have about Mr. Whiffen and Ms. Hyde? What are the thoughts that you had that you wanted to ask, that you wanted to tell Mr. Lally?
In regards to Ms. Hyde and Ms. Whippen, I'm happy to share those with you.
I'm not asking you anything about that, sir.
Very
What I'm
good.
asking is it possible for a change request in the wall to a SQLite database pertaining to one particular field, leaving the other fields as what they were previously?
I want to answer your question as well as I can. So can you repeat that one more time?
Is it possible for a change request in the wall to a SQLite database pertaining to one particular field, leaving the other fields as what they were previously?
He's like, I have no idea what you're asking.
So I'm having a little trouble answering this. So if I'm understanding correctly, the when the WAL file gets written to the database, and could that have made the change ending with this deleted record? Is that the question? I'm sorry. I want to answer you. I'm just
That's
a
okay.
little lost on how you're asking
Understand
it.
the question?
Sorry?
Do you not understand the question?
Why don't you move on, Mr. Mayor?
Do you not understand the question? Do you not understand the question? And he's still trying to be nice, like, dude, your question makes zero sense. And then there's Auntie Bev helping him out. Why don't you move along, Mr. Lally? Listen.
I want to answer you. I'm just
That's
a
okay.
little lost on how you're asking it.
Understand the question?
Sorry?
Do you not understand the question?
Why don't you move on, Mr. Mayor?
So is it possible that the URL field, which has the website name, was updated to the newest search while the timestamp retained the original search? Is that possible?
No, not the way on this particular phone in this particular iOS, and also with the user interacted with it, that it would have been at the 227 or before. The way this very specific iOS was happening, that is consistent with all the other ones that I observed out there on the phone related to specific web searches and activity.
Is it possible that the search for How Long to Die in the Cold at 6:24 a.m. was the most recent search completed in the tab?
Oh, well, not in that tab, but I certainly agree with you that there was a second search done at around that time.
Yeah.
Now, is it also possible that the search that you assert took place at 2:27 and 40 seconds in the morning is the same as the search that took place at 6:24:51 a.m. for that same search?
Yeah, that's inconsistent with the actual data I'm seeing on this actual phone with this precise iOS version.
Now, as far as the search in Safari with the string, as far as the smotot.apple.com included, is it, you recall that search as far as being a suggestion from Apple, from the iOS, as far as the search with how long to digest food?
Okay, I didn't hear your whole question, but I heard the last part about how long to digest food. So I can opine on that. So my feeling on that is when the How's Long to Die code was put in, that was most likely a Apple suggestion. And I've done some testing. Now, the time period I'm doing my testing, is after the fact that this would have actually occurred. But as I tested that on a live phone and using a Google search, I could see that how long to digest food would come up. I also notice the specific phrase, how long does it take to die from hypothermia? So as you do this Google search, you try to repeat what's being done. Those are two suggestions that actually came up.
And so that was something that was a suggestion and not something that was actually searched, correct?
Yeah, no, and I know that's different from my affidavit from about a year and a half ago, in all fairness, but
that's entirely different.
One person,
David, correct?
Mr. Lally,
I'm sorry.
one,
Mr. Lally thinks he's got something. Mr. Lally thinks he's got something, so he's going to try and scream at him. And then Bev has to say one person can speak at a time. And we're going to go back and we're going to look at that affidavit where they're accusing him of lying about that or how long to digest food being a suggested search. So hang on.
Suggestions that actually came up.
And so that was something that was a suggestion and not something that was actually searched, correct?
Yeah, no, and I know that's different from my affidavit from about a year and a half ago, in all fairness, but
that's entirely different.
one person,
David, correct?
Mr. Lally,
I'm sorry.
one person at a time.
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, in fairness, I want to give you my best knowledge as I understand it saying here today, including after my review of Mr. Whiffen and Ms. Hyde's report. So I want to do everything I can to shine as much light and clarity on this as possible. So as I repeated, since that time and did the search, I would notice that is one of the things that would come up, and it would have a little picture of like a dinner plate or something like that. And there was actually a similar, if not the same picture found in the artifacts of that phone.
And so just to conclude, that's not what you said in your affidavit that was actually filed under pains and penalties of perjury with this court, correct?
Pains and penalties of
Yes, and
perjury.
on that day, that is what my true and proper belief was. Okay, since further testing, I have found that I now believe that that was probably an automatic one. And if I've caused you any distress, I apologize.
Doesn't cause me any distress.
Okay.
What I'm asking, sir, is that that's what you filed because that's what you thought at the time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it possible that since this information came out like in April 2023 and now this is June 2024, that if somebody started to type in "How's long to die in cold," that would now come up how long to digest food? I don't know. So I don't know if he's saying back when my affidavit was written, I thought she searched it, but now that there was an update, I see that it was a suggested search. I'm not sure.
And subsequently, you've done further testing, and that's shown that you were wrong, correct?
That is correct.
Now, according to your affidavit, there was a search for how long to digest food at 6:23:49 a.m. that precedes the search for how long to die, and the misspelling here would be the key CLKD at 6:23:51 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, is it possible that the how long to digest food was a predictive suggestion from Apple rather than a search entered by the user? Is that also correct?
Asked and answered.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I believe that it was, if it had picked up a earlier search from 227 of how's long to die in the cold, and then you went to retype it in, it may have then tried to give you something similar at the 6:23 and 6:24 timelines. So hopefully that answers your question.
So steps, going to Mr. O'Keefe's health data, steps doesn't necessarily mean that someone is physically taking steps, correct?
Again, the research that's done for this is steps tend to be a very accurate artifact.
So steps could not also be coincided with, say, movement in a car or other sort of movement of the phone as far as the health data is concerned?
Sure. Well, I did.
Moving in a car, waving your arm around or going over a hill. Hi, Samantha. I see you're trying to start some beef with Olivia in the chat. So if you want to just hang out and she'll answer your questions later instead of trying to start it in the chat. Green testified that John arrived at 12:21. So if you didn't watch yesterday's stream, there's a pretty good explanation of that. So, you know, accusing her of lying or speculating or whatever, just, you know, cool it.
She's quite some time ago.
Or other sort of movement of the phone as far as the health data is concerned?
Sure. Well, I did. She's quite some time ago, do some testing with an actual iPhone 11, the same make and model, and took a drive and tried to see if it would register steps. It did not. I sat in a chair and tried to duplicate how I thought I would walk.
He did all of those things with the exact iPhone, Ian Whiffen did not use the same iPhone or operating system, I think, in his testing, right? Because didn't Garino testify like the day before this that, you know, it could register, you know, walking up and down stairs if you like go over a hill in your car, or you like run, or you like swing your arm around. It means nothing. Listen.
As far as the health data is concerned?
Sure. Well, I did. She's quite some time ago, do some testing with an actual iPhone 11, the same make and model, and took a drive and tried to see if it would register steps. It did not. I sat in a chair and tried to duplicate how I thought I would walk to see if it recorded steps. It did not. I took the phone from the floor to the ceiling to see if it would record a flight of stairs. It did not. The only with that iPhone 11, same make and model that I got. It was very consistent with me actually doing walking steps, and that was whether I had it in my shirt pocket, my pants pocket, or clipped onto my belt.
That's your testimony?
That is my testimony.
testimony?
Yes, sir.
Free Bill of Tibbets.
Now, are you familiar with GPS native locations?
Yes, sir.
And GPS native
That's your testimony, that you can't wave your iPhone phone around and it won't register steps. That's your testimony. That's your testimony, that if you're driving in your car and you go over a hill, your iPhone will health data will not register that you went up and down 3 flights of stairs. That's your testimony. They better be careful. They better walk gingerly on this, because they're going to try and convict Lindsay Clancy on her exact going up and downstairs type data. So there's that.
locations takes its data as far as defining latitude and longitude from a number of different sources, correct?
Well, true GPS, okay, is going to take it from the GPS network. What you may be thinking of is assisted GPS, which the iPhone uses, and that assisted GPS will try to, it kind of does a crowdsourcing. So it'll look at
Yes.
cell towers, what's in range as far as like Wi-Fi's and a number of other devices to try to get you an enhanced GPS location and give you the best data possible.
So it takes the GPS native locations within an Apple iOS device, takes from 4 different sources. Isn't that correct?
It tries to get from a variety of sources, like I just mentioned. Not all would be available.
Now, with regard, did you look at any GPS native location data with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
Yes, sir.
And would you agree then that the GPS native locations didn't record any movement of that phone after 12:25 a.m.?
No, it's like 12:32.
I would have to look at the exhibit to see what the time of that last entry was. I don't want to misstate something to you, sir.
Now, you were asked about sort of the elevation change in 3 floors, ascending, descending, and saying that you couldn't pinpoint a time period or within that 12:21 to 12:24 time period from the health data. Is that correct?
Correct. It happened somewhere within that time.
Could you pinpoint more specifically if you looked at the GPS native location data?
No, well, we're talking Apple Health and GPS location. So
It's like you're not asking me the
You said
right
you couldn't do it.
question.
I'm sorry. Which one are you asking about? Please.
What I'm asking is, you said you couldn't pinpoint it within the GPS health data. What I'm asking is, if you had looked at the GPS native location data, could you give a more specific pinpoint
Objection.
as to where Mr. O'Keefe's phone was?
I'm going to allow that.
Of course you will.
May we proceed briefly? Then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. I'll let you be seen briefly, and then it's almost over.
Now, to be clear, sir, you had indicated earlier in your testimony that the elevation change from 12:21 to 12:24, you could not pinpoint where in that time period, or specifically where in that time period the elevation change occurred, correct?
That's correct. It's a time range. Yes, sir.
So what I'm asking is, had you looked at that in the GPS native location data, would you have been able to more accurately or specifically pinpoint when that occurred?
Okay. So the location, are you looking for a yes or no? I'm sorry.
Yes or no?
You can say I can't answer yes or no.
There was, yes, there was location data within that time period. Okay.
And are you aware that Mr. O'Keefe's phone from the GPS native location data was actually a half-mile away from 34 Fairview Road at the time that it made those recordings in the GPS Apple Health data?
Right. Yes, I understand he was using Waze, and it had made that recording.
Here's the explanation for the person who asked before. The 3-minute time difference is because Waze uses the monotonic clock.
Understand that. That's why the finding that 3 minute and 1 second offset brings into serious doubt if that time was accurate. And when you apply that to the location offset, then the Apple Health data and the GPS all aligns. Now, I have not decoded Waze and found out what functions they were calling and all that. And I don't mean to indicate that I have, but I mean that the latest version of Axiom is bringing that up as an artifact and a timestamp related to Waze. And in the case of here, where minutes are important, I thought it proper that I bring this to the attention of the case as a possible explanation.
Yeah.
As a possible explanation?
As a possible explanation, sir, yes.
Now, the 3 different clocks that you were talking about, are you aware that those are actually associated to power usage and not applications?
Right, that power usage was directly related to the Waze application.
So it's your testimony that those 3 clocks apply to the times in Waze? Is that your testimony?
I'm saying that the timestamps were directly related to Waze. It was reported by Axiom when you applied the filter and say, show me all the artifacts related to Waze. These were artifacts that came up related to the Waze bundle. So I guess you need to give it the weight it deserves. Like I said, I've not decoded Waze. That's not something that has been done, but I think we need to consider the 3-minute offset as it applies to giving significance to the Apple Health data
Because minutes are
and
important
the
here.
Waze GPS.
Now, turning to Ms. McCabe's phone again, as far as the search, what you indicated as last view time, are you aware that that is actually related to a time that it was actually focused on the screen as opposed to your interpretation of it?
I'm aware that from that it appears to be the last time and date it was focused, and when it was no longer was focused, that's when the timestamp was written. That's what's consistent with the other data on this particular phone on this very specific iOS.
Now, with regard to looking at this search, you mentioned that you used something called an ArtX tool. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And are you aware that's a tool that was actually created by Mr. Ian Whiffen?
Yeah, absolutely.
And with regard to this specific issue, as far as how this data is being interpreted from the browser state DB versus the knowledge C database and the wall file and all of those, the P list and all of those other kinds of things, as far as the misinterpretation of the data has then caused Mr. Whiffen in further versions of Cellbrite to revise that so that this kind of error can't occur.
Sure, happy to answer that. So Mr. Whiffen's testing was not done with this specific version of the iOS. The iOS has been known to be changing the way this artifact works. To do proper analysis, the researcher that he is, he would need to work with that same iOS. Now, in regards to the Cellbrite question, they have 2 versions of the Cellbrite Physical Analyzer. One is the standard physical analyzer that's been out for several years now, probably is majority use in the community. It's a tool that takes that raw data and it puts it into human terms that we can look at and understand and write reports like you've been seeing here. So they have the Cellbrite Physical Analyzer that's out there. I believe it's 7.68, but don't quote me on that. And then they have a new version that's come out called Insights, and this operates more on a where you can put multiple cases in and that. It's only the Insight versions that they have bothered updating and no longer reporting on that time. Their current physical analyzer program, and I tested this a few days ago, still reports on that search occurring, and that timestamp. So currently Cellbrite is providing examiners, law enforcement, and people worldwide with 2 different versions giving 2 different results. That I can't speak to more than that, other than I've tested that, and I see how those programs are working now.
But my question, sir, yes or no, is are you aware that Cellbrite has had to modify their software based on misinterpretation of data, as you've done in this case?
Yes, with the asterisk, they updated 1 of 2 programs.
Nothing further.
This is, they're trying to say in their motion, the reason to keep him out is that they say, I'll pull up the direct quote after this, but just listen to this, or maybe I'll do it first. Hold on. Because we like receipts here. They actually blame his testimony and Jennifer McCabe for the reason that Celebrite had to redo their whole entire program. I'll look for that while we just hear this again.
Speak to more than that, other than I've tested that, and I see how those programs are working now.
So my question, sir, yes or no, is are you aware that Celebrite has had to modify their software based on misinterpretation of data, as you've done in this case?
Yes, with the asterisk, they updated one of two programs.
Nothing further.
As you've done in this case, not because you did it in this case, right? Right? Nothing further.
No further questions.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Green, you are all set. sir.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you.
That was that. And that was the end of the day for our Judge Canoni. She let them all go home after that. I don't know, remember what time that was, but I think it was a short afternoon. Let me just go back to the actual motion. I might as well pull it up while I'm scrolling through it. You can talk amongst yourselves for a second. Let's just go to the chat. On top, thank you for your super sticker so very much. Kim, thank you for your Cash App, and says your coverage keeps me sane while watching this. Well, you keep me sane too, Kim. So thank you very much. Bull Cut Lineup gifted 5 memberships. I'm not sure if I addressed that before, but thank you so very much. Hank Brennan's regret coming in here with a 20. Tried to keep my duck and mouth shut tonight, but I've already failed. I watched the trial and now going over it again. How in the hell was much of this evidence even allowed? I know, I know. And I feel like we need to, because so many people that are catching on to this trial now did not watch it the first time. I think there's certain things that we need to go over and reinforce. And that's why when this motion came in, I said, we got to go back and watch his testimony. So thank you for that. So many things. The screenshots, Allie McCabe's screenshots of her conversation allegedly with Colin Albert that night with no date on them, no gray bubbles on them. Everything doesn't line up. It's very strange. But all those sidebars being transcribed so that the new motions in Lemonade, as they became to be known on this channel because the closed caption called them that one day, are going to be fire in this case, because now the defense is going to have transcriptions of all of those sidebars during which the rulings were made about letting such things like the inverted video in, the screenshots in, Higgy's text messages that he downloaded and cherry picked. Hey, Willis Realtor, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. I appreciate you so much. When is someone going to help us? Says Liz 8888. Outraged in Norfolk County. Thank you, Liz. Valmore, thank you for the 5. The impudence, the audacity, unmitigated gall of the Commonwealth. God save the Commonwealth is all I can say. God save the Commonwealth. Sarah Be Creative a long time ago. Melancholy, but not Melanie Byrne. Thank you, Sarah, for the 5. Chip was looking for nudes. Yes, he was. Pro Hawk VJ. Thank you. Thank you for the deuce. Pro Hawk VJ says Lally's agitated because he wants a cigarette. Maybe he should try the nicotine patches next time. Kelly, thanks for being a member. It says for 6 months, Lally tries to act domineering. It's backfiring. Seamus James, why would the Commonwealth keep Lally doing this? He's so bad. Well, he's not doing it anymore. That's why they've gone outside. They've gone outside the fold. They've gone outside the entire enormous district attorney's office of Norfolk County, even though they may have more experienced attorneys, at least prosecuting, than Hank Brennan. They've gone outside and hired an outside attorney named Hank Brennan, who was a defense attorney who defended Whitey Bulger, and I'm sure others, who is doing this at the rate of $250 an hour, which is a bargain basement rate. Considering that many attorneys in New York and LA are billing out at $1,500 to $1,800 an hour, that is next to nothing with a $75,000 cap. Why Brennan would do that is a better question. Lally gets a salary. It doesn't matter if he wins or loses. And now he's been demoted to bag boy, water boy. And he has to sit there next to Brennan, who's now taking lead. His posture just says it all. And based on some of these motions that we're seeing filed, I'm guessing that Lally's not even helping him at this point. He's like, you know what? You're on your own. Go on with your bad self. It's not the way that we do things here in the DA's office, but go on with your bad self. It's called Bates stamping, not bait stamping. But Sherry says, would Hosslong to dying cold now be suggested due to so many people searching it to test the history on their own phones? I know I did. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying, Sherry. Yes, I think it probably would. I haven't tested it. Did you? You did? Hi, Amanda. Thanks for the 5. Loving these late streams. XOXO to Michigan. XOXO. I know we're going to have to catch up on Blake Lively. That's getting kind of wild over there. The lawsuits are flying back and forth. Knowing your bits from your bytes. Thanks for your 10. If the Commonwealth is going to question every previous witness, the defense should also go back and question all of Bev's prior rulings to dismiss stuff from the trial. And I think that's what's happening. It's going to take the court reporters, I think there's a team of 3 of them, months, I think they said, to transcribe all of those sidebars so they can contest her rulings moving forward in the next trial. Because like she likes to say, it's a new trial, right? New trial, new rules. Nicole says, Karen Reed shut off her GPS data. I don't know. I don't know where you're getting that information from, but the evidence we just heard from this expert is that it was intentionally deleted in April 2022 when the phone was in the custody of the Massachusetts State Police. Olivia says, why didn't the Commonwealth have Ian Whiffen and Jessica Hyde look at John O'Keefe's phone's GPS location data if they're trying to prove Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe? Great point. How does Jen McCabe's Google searches contribute to Karen Reed's guilt? It doesn't. It doesn't. But here they are spending more time and more money defending Jennifer McCabe's 227 search. I know I underlined it in red, so let me see if I can just talk amongst yourselves for a second. Do, 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 do. Well, I can't find it right now, but I know it was in there somewhere, Olivia, because we found it. Maybe I'll get back to it later, but I can't find it right now. Okay, next thing we want to do is, this is what we want to do next, because a lot of you may not be familiar with this. All the way back in April of 2023, a motion was made to obtain cell phone records from Verizon and AT&T with regard to Brian Albert. And in support of that motion, as is required with any motion, was an affidavit. This one was filled out by Richard Green. So a lot of this had already been sworn to in his prior affidavit. Let's take a look at that. This was filed on April 12th of 2023. And there's a lot of information in here that people might not have seen. So that's why I want to go over it with you now. This is the affidavit of Richard Green in support of defendant's motion for an order pursuant to Rule 17 directed to Brian Albert, Verizon, and AT&T. I, Richard Green, under oath, do depose and state as follows. I'm a data forensics expert with United States Forensics, LLC. I'm a certified computer examiner with the International Association of Computer Forensic Examiners and hold certifications in cybersecurity, Computer Crime Investigations, and Digital Forensics and Computer Investigations, AS. The following facts and information are based on my own personal knowledge, and I could testify competently thereto if called upon as an expert witness to do so. I declare that the following is true and correct to the best of my knowledge, and that I have no personal interest in the outcome of this case. USF has received inter alia, Latin of the day means among other things, cell phone data images of 2 iPhone devices, which were forensically imaged by the Massachusetts State Police in connection with this case. They've been entered into evidence as follows. The iPhone 11 of Jennifer McCabe and the iPhone 11 of John O'Keefe. The data images have been processed and reviewed with Cellebrite Physical Analyzer, Axiom, and then it has the whatever the version, the software version. So it's Cellebrite Physical Analyzer V7.61.0.12 and Axiom Forensics V6.11. Additional forensic tools utilized include Belkasoft X, Sanderson, Sequelite, Forensic Explorer, and Cellhawk. So he used all of those things. He did not just use Cellebrite. He used all of them. Cellebrite, Axiom, Belkasoft X, Sanderson, Sequelite, Forensic Explorer, and Cellhawk. 5 different programs. All times listed have been converted to Canton, Mass local time, which is UTC -5, unless otherwise noted. First section, analysis of Jennifer McCabe's iPhone 11. I have analyzed the data obtained from the forensic image of Jennifer McCabe's iPhone 11 using the tools outlined in paragraph 4 above. That analysis has revealed significant exculpatory evidence. Search history. In my professional experience, an analysis of the device's internet search history often gives valuable clues as to the user's intent or knowledge surrounding an incident. Break from this to tell you again, he has testified in 2,000 trials. Testified 2,000 times. That doesn't even count all of the other cases that he's been hired in to give an opinion that have either settled or plea bargained out. I conducted a review of the search history information obtained from Jennifer McCabe's iPhone 11 and observed the following significant artifact from the morning in question. Search term, Haas long to die in cold. Date and time, 1/29/22 at 2:27:40 a.m. And there's the URL attached. Source, Safari suspended state tab. State, deleted as reported by Cellebrite. Thus, search history information obtained from Jennifer McCabe's cell phone indicates that on January 29th, 2022 at 2:27:40 a.m., the phone's user entered the following search in Safari, Haas long to die in cold. A true and correct copy of the Cellebrite information associated with this artifact is attached here too as USF 01. In order to confirm the accuracy of this search event as reported in Cellebrite, I independently performed a low-level analysis of the artifact found in USF 01, which was located in the browser state.db-wall write-ahead file. Write-ahead files are temporary in nature and show the location where data is written before commitments to the main database are made. The particulars of this artifact are as follows. Here's the location, database record ID, the raw time data, time converted to UTC, adjusted to local time is January 29th, 2022 at 2:27:40 a.m. Thus, I was able to independently verify that the time, date, and fact of the search reported in Cellebrite was accurate. Hold on. Susie CJ, it's your lucky day being gifted a membership. Go buy a lottery ticket. Welcome. 8. Significantly, the Celebrite analysis further reveals that the 2:27:40 a.m. search for Haas Long to Die in Cold was thereafter deleted by the user. The browser state.db dataset contains information about the open tabs in the Safari application. This allows a user to leave the application and then return at a later time to resume the browser session. The individual tabs can be deleted by the user. Here, Celebrite indicates that the 2:27:40 a.m. search for Haas Long to Die in Cold was deleted by the user. I also performed a timeline validation of the 2:27:40 a.m. search by confirming that the device was in use at the time of the search. The following artifacts support that user was interacting with the phone during this period. The iPhone was unlocked between 2:23:31 a.m. and 2:31:07 a.m. Text messages were sent at 2:25:11 a.m. and 2:25:56 a.m. Two screenshots were deleted at 2:26:37 a.m. The search for Haas Long to Die in Cold was entered at 2:27:40 a.m. Thus, the data unequivocally establishes that an individual using Jennifer McCabe's iPhone 11 searched Haas Long to Die in Cold at 2:27:40 a.m. on January 29th, 2022. So for those of you who don't remember, didn't pay attention to Jennifer McCabe's testimony, maybe some of this wasn't even let in at trial. Now I don't recall because, I can't recall everything. Thank you, Sherilyn, for your Cash App as well. Appreciate you very much. To refresh, the iPhone was unlocked between 2:23:31 and 2:31:07 a.m. Text messages were sent, two text messages, one at 2:25:11 and one at 2:25:56. Two screenshots were deleted at 2:36:37 a.m. And then the search for Haas Long to Die in Cold was entered at 2:27:40 a.m. Anybody remember what else was happening around that time? Around the 2:22 time? Do, 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 do. Yes, the butt dials at 2:22 a.m. One of them, I can't remember who called who first. Brian Albert, maybe called Brian Higgins, and then that was a butt dial. And then Brian Higgins called Brian Albert back, and that was a butt dial. And it was something like however many seconds long. It didn't go to voicemail, but all around the same time period, right? Thanks, Ann. Hollywood producers would call this whole investigation and trial storyline too unbelievable unless it was intended to be satire. I know. Pink Petal wants to know, so did Karen Reed ever ask Jen McCabe to search that or no? Well, there's really no evidence of that. Jen McCabe says she did. She also says that it happened when they were sitting in the backseat of a cruiser, holding hands and praying the Our Father. But even though all of those police cars had dash cams, there's no footage of that. So put a pin in this. I'll put it here so you can screenshot it if you want to come back to it later. A further review of searched artifacts revealed that the user of Jennifer McCabe's iPhone 11 conducted several similar searches later that morning on January 29th of 2022. A true and correct copy of these subsequent searches are attached here too as USFO2 and include the following. 1:29:22 at 6:23:51 a.m. How long TI die in CIKD? 1:29:22 at 6:24:18 a.m. Haas Long to Die in Cold. I was also able to locate an additional artifact attached here to as USFO3, which was recovered from the Safari cache records and indicates that the user also conducted the following search at 1:29:22 at 6:23:49 a.m. How long does it take to digest food? And then he attaches the link to that and where it was found. But I need Olivia to come up and explain this after I get through reading and we have some time to talk at the end. According to these timestamps, that would have been the first thing searched, right? How long does it take to digest food? Which would come up as a suggested search. He just testified to. When you were searching how long, that may be the first thing that comes up. Did she click on that by mistake and then went back after that? Because she went back after that, after 6:23:39 at 6:23:51 and searched how long TI die and CIK did. Right? Deleted call logs. I also conducted a forensic analysis of the user's call log history from the date in question. An analysis of a device's call history is helpful in determining associates of the user, which may be of interest. A user's call history is automatically recorded and stored on a user's cell phone. The absence of recent historical call information suggests that a user has taken affirmative steps to delete the call history. In my professional opinion, the confirmed deletion of recent historical call information suggests that a user has engaged in efforts to tamper with, alter, destroy, and/or hide information or evidence. Importantly, deleted information is not always recoverable. The call log artifacts were examined using Cellebrite's physical analyzer and are attached here too as USFO4. Further analysis was performed with Axiom forensics, both of which suggest that there were significant deletions of call data by the user of Jennifer McCabe's iPhone 11. From 10/24/2020 to 1/27/2022, only FaceTime call data is recorded, parsed by Axiom. On 1/28/2022, no call log data found in call history.storedata.db, main storage location, but indications of calls found in Knowledge C database, which records various user activity. On 1/29/22, 18 deleted call entries between 5:33:47 a.m. and 8:50:15 a.m. On 1/29/22, the 6:03:47 a.m. 911 call is deleted, and that's included in the 18 above. On 1/29/22, the 6:07:42 a.m. and 6:08:17 a.m. calls to Coco, aka Nicole Albert, are deleted, included in the 18 above. Remember, Coco, Nicole testified she didn't get those calls. Although one of them is something like 9 seconds and one of them something like 7 seconds. She was real nervous. We watched her testimony recently when we were talking about Chloe. 1/29/2022. The 6:23 a.m. call to Uncle Brian A is deleted, included in the 18 above. Can I just point out how creepy it is that she would have her brother-in-law in her phone as Uncle Brian A? Is it just me or is that creepy? Anyone think that's creepy? (1/29/22) at 8:59:34 a.m. to 2/2 of 2022, normal call activity was found. Normal call log activity was found. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Not just me, right? Okay. Just weird. How do you have your brother-in-law listed in your phone? In this case, I was able to further verify that there were additional deletions which were not recovered from Jennifer McCabe's iPhone 11 using Cellebrite by cross-referencing the deleted call entries from Jennifer McCabe's cell phone with data obtained from John O'Keefe's and Karen Reed's cell phones. That's what a good expert does. He cross-references stuff that wasn't found in Celebrite. On 1/29/22, there are 17 calls listed on John O'Keefe's iPhone referencing Jennifer McCabe's cell phone number, which I've redacted. On January 29th of 2022, attached here too as USF 05. Only one of these calls is found in Jennifer McCabe's iPhone call history, .storedata.db, and that particular artifact is listed as deleted, highlighted in green on USF 04. Do you remember when Jennifer McCabe testified that she turned in her cell phone willingly? She turned it in willingly, but before she turned it in, they allowed her to delete all text messages to her children. They said it was fine. What else did she delete? Thank you, Mama Shay, for your Cash App. I appreciate you so much. Oh, says for all my hard work these last 2 days. My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, Mama Shay. (1/29/2022). There are 8 calls listed on Karen Reed's iPhone call log referencing Jennifer McCabe's cell phone number on January 29th of 2022. Attached here too is USF 06. Of these 8 calls, only 2 are found in the Jen McCabe iPhone call history .storedata.db, highlighted in yellow on USF 04. Thus, I was able to determine that certain call log history and data was missing from Jennifer McCabe's iPhone, which could not be recovered using Celebrite. In order to obtain a complete accounting of the calls that could not be recovered using Celebrite, I will need to obtain call detail records from Jennifer McCabe's cell phone carrier and cross-reference that information with the data obtained from the analysis of her cell phone. This analysis may lead to the discovery of additional devices that should be preserved and analyzed. Acquisition and preservation should include potential backup sources such as computers and cloud storage platforms, as well as synced devices such as tablets. They wanted it from Jennifer McCabe as well. And these are the reasons why. Deleted screenshot. In addition to the above data that was deleted from Jennifer McCabe's iPhone, a screenshot of a contact saved as Uncle Brian A, described as home number 3, with the associated phone number 617, I've redacted the rest, was found to have been created on January 29th of 2022 at 6:08:35 a.m. and was deleted later that day at 12:53:23 p.m. So she screenshotted Uncle Brian A's contact information, home number 3, maybe texted it to somebody, and then deleted the screenshot. A true and correct copy of that artifact is attached here too as USF 07. It's noted that Jennifer McCabe's brother-in-law is Brian Albert, whose cell phone number has been confirmed as that number. I know. A lot of people don't know about this decorated dude. Felt like it's my job to educate, and I'm just reading court documents, but I'll be skewered for it tomorrow, I'm sure. Location data. An analysis of a device's location data is helpful to determine the user's whereabouts during specific incidents. iPhones store various location data with varying degrees of accuracy. When an application, like an app, requests location data, the iOS responds with what is known as Apple Location Services and Assisted GPS. Some applications may require only regional data, such as weather applications, and other ones highly accurate data, such as driving applications, as in Waze. In an effort to determine the whereabouts of Jennifer McCabe's iPhone on January 29th of 2022, location data was exported into the Cellhawk application. This program allows the expert to filter location data based on accuracy, time, and location. For this portion of the analysis, I only relied on data that had an accuracy of 100 meters or better. The following is a summary of location events for 1/29/22. The timing of Jennifer McCabe's search for Haas Long to Die in Cold has been added for reference. So here, 12 a.m., Jennifer McCabe is in proximity to the Waterfall Bar and Grill. 12:13:46 a.m., accuracy improves significantly and indicates leaving Waterfall. 12:18:25 a.m., arrives at the Alberts residence at 34 Fairview. 1:47:17 a.m., accuracy improves significantly and indicates leaving Fairview. I'm going to leave this on the screen for a minute so you can come back to it later or screenshot it, whatever you want to do. Do your own little armchair detective work, as I know you like to do. 2:03:13 a.m. makes a right turn onto Lawrence Street. This is the turn before Pleasant Street, which intersects with John O'Keefe's residence. 2:04:25 a.m. located on Leonard Way. Course is reversed. Wait a second. They were dropping off Juliana Nagel and Sarah Levinson, right? Do they live in that neighborhood, in the Meadows neighborhood? Does anyone know? Is that where they dropped him off? Would it take 16 minutes to where they lived? I don't know. Because they're trying to tell us that it took Karen how many minutes to get from 34 Fairview back to One Meadows when she connected with the Wi-Fi? They're saying 5-6 minutes. But here they leave at 1:47. They may be going by John's house. 16 minutes later, they may have dropped the girls off first. I don't know. (2:03:13 a.m.) makes a right onto Lawrence Street. Turn before Pleasant Street, which intersects with John O'Keefe's residence. At 2:04:25 a.m., located on Leonard Way. Course is reversed. 2:12:38 a.m. arrives at Jen McCabe's residence at 12 Country Lane. They don't live there anymore, so I didn't redact it. 5:39:10 a.m. leaves 12 Country Lane. 5:46:05 a.m. arrive at John O'Keefe residence at One Meadows. 5:52:45 a.m. leaves One Meadows. 5:57:10 a.m. in proximity to the Waterfall Bar and Grill. 6:03:05 a.m. arrives at the Alberts residence at 34 Fairview. At 11:16:03 a.m., she leaves 34 Fairview. 11:22:55 a.m., she gets back home. You know why? Wasn't she meeting Proctor and Buchanan to give her statement at her own house? But at 11:30, why didn't they just go to 34 Fairview at 11:30? Anyone? Anyone? Health data information. Data obtained from the health app on Jennifer McCabe's iPhone indicates that her device was connected to an Apple Watch on January 29th, 2022, which enhances the accuracy of the health data recorded and provides for a greater amount of detail. A true and copy of the data obtained from the health app on Jennifer McCabe's iPhone, which was recorded on January 29th, 2022, is attached here to this USF 08. Yeah, or the police station. Why didn't they just go to the police station? Why did they agree to meet them back at Jennifer McCabe's house? Analysis of John O'Keefe's iPhone. I have also analyzed the health-related data obtained from USF evidence number 22222. Sarah does live off of Leonard. Thank you, Hubert. Sarah Levinson lives off Leonard. Okay, so they had to go that way. And I don't know where Juliana Nagel lives, but remember in the initial police reports, Sarah Levinson was not mentioned. They left her off. They did not mention her name at all. They said they only drove Juliana Nagel home. Thank you, Hubert. Hubert's got the T. Oh, thanks, Krista Ray. No question. Just want to thank you for sharing your knowledge on this trial and many others. You're my go-to when trying to catch up. Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate your 5. It's Stephanie gifted a membership. Thanks, Stephanie. And Kat Randall gifted a membership. Thank you, Kat, and welcome to the new members. NDF, thanks for the 10. Sitting here wicked sick in Massachusetts and so grateful to have you. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope you feel better soon. It seems like everyone is sick. I'm glad I didn't get it. Lorby 823, thanks for the deuce. Too bad Canton, Mass puts up with this nonsense. I don't know. You, the people, you, the people of Canton and Norfolk County need to get out there and do something about it. Nick Rocco says, never stop reaching. Also, Anti-Dep smells. I know you guys are fake beefing right now to see who can raise the most money for Calgary's defense fund. So keep it up. BC Natalie, thank you for tuning in from Canada. We love you here in Canada. Thanks for all you do. Thank you. The world is watching you guys. Thank you, Hubert. Oh, happy New Year, everyone. Need to go lay down. Thank you, Pete Patronus Glow, for coming in for a little bit. Hoping that you feel better. Sending all the good healing vibes to you, as always. And back to the document. I've also analyzed the health-related data obtained from John O'Keefe's phone, iPhone 11. When a user enables the application to record information, the iPhone's operating system can record a broad range of activity and health-related data. The following information was obtained from O'Keefe's health application between 12 a.m. and 6 a.m. on January 29th of 2022. So is this what you're saying, Olivia, was not the GPS location data for John's phone using Waze data hadn't been corrected yet to account for the monotonic time? Because we know that he arrived there 12:21. So it says sometime between 12:11 to 12:21, he took 170 steps. From 12:21 to 12:24, 80 steps. From 12:21 to 12:24, ascended or descended 3 floors. From 12:31 to 12:32, he took 36 steps. Notably, although the time ranges indicated above record total steps and/or elevation during the relevant time period, it's impossible to determine whether the steps taken and/or elevation gain was recorded during the entirety of that time period or for only a portion thereof. So it happened some point during that time. A true and correct copy of the analysis of O'Keefe's health data recovered using Axiom is attached here too as USF 09. Thank you, Olivia. John's Apple health data are accurate in this report. Yes, because it's a native iPhone app. The time programming discrepancies aren't an issue, right? We heard in his testimony yesterday that apps, when they come onto the App Store, they can pick the clock that they want to use. And he testified that the Waze clock was like 3 minutes fast because it uses monatomic time, not the display time of the Apple iPhone. Thank you. I subsequently analyzed the location data associated with O'Keefe's iPhone. iPhones store various location data with varying degrees of accuracy, as explained in paragraph 12 above. In order to analyze the location data associated with this case, the location data was exported into the CellHawk application. This application allows the expert to filter based on accuracy, time, and location. For this portion of the analysis, I only relied on data that had an accuracy of 100 meters or better. Based on my analysis of the location data obtained on O'Keefe's cell phone, it appears that the first location ping in the neighborhood near the Albert residence occurred at 12:19:33 a.m. Location data indicates that O'Keefe arrived at the Albert residence at 34 Fairview at 12:24:28 a.m. So these are the times that are 3 minutes fast. Conclusion. In order to properly investigate O'Keefe's death and recover critical information surrounding what transpired on January 29th of 2022 and the days thereafter, I will need to obtain substantive text and/or iMessage communications, search history, web browsing history, location data, and/or cell phone data that may have been deleted during the relevant time period by the individuals in question. I can only obtain this information by creating a proper forensic image or extraction of the cell phones themselves or any potential backup sources such as computers and or iCloud storage platforms, as well as sync devices such as tablets. Once I have created a forensic image of the device and or data, I can run various tools and conduct a forensic analysis of the information to obtain the critical information outlined above. Furthermore, cell phone carriers independently maintain call detail records, including call records, SMS text and MMS records, and data usage records, cell tower and cell phone location information, and subscriber information associated with their customers. Thus, cell phone carrier records are necessary to independently establish whether any substantive communications may have been missing, deleted, or are otherwise unrecoverable using forensic tools to analyze the devices themselves. Whereas here, there is significant evidence that persons connected with this case have made attempts to delete, destroy, alter, and or tamper with information or evidence that was turned over to law enforcement, it is absolutely necessary that I be able to compare any data uncovered through a forensic analysis of the individual's devices with their corresponding cell phone carrier records, which are independently, I don't know why it cuts off there. These pages might be out of order. Maybe I have a page missing, which is possible. But here's what's interesting. Here's the exhibits, and I'll scroll through them. I'm assuming there's just one last page that I'm missing with a signature page. So here's Jennifer McCabe's Apple Health Steps. And I don't know if anybody's done this. If anybody's taken Jennifer McCabe's data, put it next to John O'Keefe's data, see if anything matches up. Olivia said, in fact, producing their cell phone records is really the only way to exonerate themselves if the defense were wrong. Mary says, Olivia, exactly, and why delete the truth? Hi, Jerry Gray. Thanks for tuning in from Canada. Says, I texted my daughter an hour ago, but if you hire an expert, they can make it appear like I sent it tomorrow. Yeah, you can. We learned that too during the trial, that you can go into your phone and you can change your time zone and it'll make your text messages 3 hours earlier if you say you're in California, for example, and you're in New York. Great point, Jerry. Thanks for tuning in from Canada. Appreciate you. And for your super chat. Jackie L says, will this be allowed in? Parts of it were. This is from April of 2023. They're going to have to make new motions. Libby says, bingo, the Commonwealth had no proof or assurance Jen McCabe didn't make the search at 227 when they denied it. They subsequently went out to buy witnesses who would confirm their bias. Mick said, Lally would get lost in a circle intersection. That reminded me of Chevy Chase's European Vacation. Do you remember when they're driving around Big Ben? Anybody remember that? Everybody waved to Big Ben. And they were in the traffic circle for it was day until night. That's a classic, funny movie. So here's what's interesting is Jen McCabe's, you've done it, Olivia? Okay, all right. Maybe you want to come on and explain it? I can send you a link if you want. Just text me if you want it. I don't know if you're in bed. I don't know if you're out somewhere and it's loud. I don't want to force you to come on. But let me go through this briefly. And then you're the wicked smart one when it comes to all this technology. But starting at 11:58 p.m., she's taken a lot of steps, right? 11:58, 12:01, 12:04, 12:10, 12:10, 12:11, 12:18, 12:20. So we know from what we know now that John O'Keefe arrived with Karen Reed at about 12:21, right? Is this all the time she's getting up going to the window because I think he said she didn't even get there till like 12:13. But we know that it was sometime between 12:10 and 12:19 that these steps were taken, so you have to take that into consideration. Moving around a lot at 12:35. She takes between 12:35 and 12:45. She takes about 148 steps. We know she leaves around. I mean, it's pretty consistent, right? She's moving. She leaves at 1:47, I think you said. So between 1:44 and 1:45, she walks 55 steps. Then sometime between 1:55 and 1:57, she walks 16 steps. This pretty much goes on all night. Like she's moving around all night. I don't know when she slept. The only time that I could find when maybe she slept was between 3:51 a.m. and 4:55 a.m. because that seems to be when there was no activity. Maybe she didn't sleep. But at 2:22:42 a.m. and the 2:21 and 2:20, all around this time, she's moving. Is she pacing? Is she walking up and downstairs? I don't know. I'm going to let you screenshot this in case you want to investigate it later. There's the first page. Second half of the first page. Here's the second page. Page 2. Second half of page 2. And it goes all the way until page 3. Go all the way until 11:39, well, 11:41 p.m. on the 29th. My lines blow through my mind. The more I see, the more I do. Dang, dang, diggity, dang, dang. Dang, dang, diggity, dang, dang. Dang, diggity, dang, dang, diggity, dang, dang, dig. I love that song. And here's page 4. Oh, wait, this is Apple Health distance. All right, so that was page 3. This is distance. These are steps. So that's steps. Page 1, page 2, page 3. This is now Apple Health distance. No, I didn't call you. I didn't call you, Siri. I didn't call you. This is how far she walked during all of those times, starting at 11:58 p.m. on the 29th. Oh, no, this continues now from the 29th, the entire day. No, 128, 11:58. All right, this is distance. I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. You guys are smarter than I am, probably most of you. I don't do this. I'm just a lawyer. This is like, it makes my eyes glaze over and my head hurt. But I'm going to put it here for you because a lot of you don't know about this. Here's page 5. And again, 1:29:22, 1:44 a.m., 1:55 a.m. All night long. All night long. It's a lot of data. Page 6. I don't know why you know why I underlined this? Because between 11:31 a.m. and 11:59 a.m., she wasn't moving. That's when she probably gave her interview to Procter and Buchanan at her own house. Maybe she took a nap between noon and 3 She was kind of not active during that time either. I don't know. You guys can screenshot that and figure it out for me. Or Olivia can just come on and tell us. And here is her Apple Health heart rate. Okay, so what's a normal resting heart rate? Anybody know? Here's the heart rate data. Got it, Laura, got it. Gray space of the heart rate data is so interesting. Resting heart depends on the person. 60 to 70? Yeah, so we don't really know what her baseline is, right? Some people have high pressure, 60 to 100. Varies on the sex and health, 60 to 90. So this starts at 12:02 a.m. on the 29th. This is when she was doing media, has good videos on both these things. Good. Maybe she could explain it better than I can. She has a very, very calming voice. Very calming voice. Hanging out, dancing in the kitchen. Maybe dancing in the kitchen at 12:10. Oh, no, she hadn't gotten there at 12:10 a.m., right? $12.49, 66. That's the lowest from 12:02. It stays like between 60, 70, 80. She left about 146, 147. Her heartbeat's at like 86. Heart rate, 205 before perhaps the Google searches. 84, where she's doing the texting and the deleting and the, but this is weird because it goes 205.03 and then 159.54. I don't know why some of this is out of order. I have no idea. And then it's like 60s, 70s. I don't know what a sleeping heart rate is. Where's Nurse Kim when we need her? Kind of stays the same. I'm going to go slow so you can just screenshot it. So this is out of order. So this is page 7, right? Because 7 ends at 4:35 a.m. And then page 8 is out of order and it's somewhere else because I remember I'm like, what? It just ends there? That's crazy. Here's page 8. So this goes from 4:41 a.m., 84, 97, 79. This is before John's body is found, right? It peaks out here at about 99, 5:38 a.m. John's body is found around 6:04. She's still at a 91. Then it jacks up to 122 at 6:42:59 a.m. What was going on then? Yeah, somebody says their sleeping rate is about 45. That's interesting. So I don't have an Apple Watch, so it does it. If you wear it to sleep, I guess it would track you while you were sleeping too. $122, $121. It stays kind of like over 100 till 7:03. It's going back into the 70s, 90s, 100 again at 8:52. 102. What is she doing at 9:07? She called Lank to come back to the house because she wanted to add some stuff to her police report, remember? Thanks, Auntie Deb, for your 5. Jimmy's here. Nikki Haircut sends 8 quarters to throw shade. Okay, get ready to perm. Also, hi, Queen. I'm the queen. Thanks. Thanks, Jimmy. So, it's interesting. I don't know what to make of it, but it's interesting. So it gets back to 106 around 9:30. She called Lank to come back and give him some more information. And then we have to go back to page 7, which is up here. And that went until 4 a.m. And this is page 9. So this is just telling me to go back and find page 8. And again, it's calm pretty much for the rest of the morning. I mean, calm if 91 is calm. I don't know. I don't know what her baseline is. And here we have John O'Keefe's Apple Health steps. This is where it gets kind of interesting. You might want to put a pin in this. Sometime between, and we know that the times are accurate because it's Apple. Sometime between 12:11 and 12:21, he takes 170 steps. Sometime between 12:21:10 and 12:24:22, he takes 80 steps. I want to know if somebody was dropped off at the end of the driveway, 34 Fairview, how many steps would it take to walk into the house? Because that's going to coincide with the flights. After that, there were 3 flights of stairs. $80 steps from when they got there at 12:21. Because remember, wasn't there a text message between like Ryan Nagel and Juliana Nagel? He's like, I'm here at 12. Somebody remind me, 12:23, and they were behind Karen's car and they saw only one person. Oh, that's exactly what the Dream Feed videos are about. That's awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Good. Well, you guys can tell me the answers then, because I'm just giving you the raw data. You can do with it as you will and go watch Dream Feed Media's explanation of this. 36 steps between 12:31:56 and 12:32:16. And this is when everyone on the other side will tell you, and that's when the phone never moved again. Okay. But where was it? Because then at 6:04:01 a.m., between 6:04 and 6:11, that phone travels 432 steps. 432 steps. Who had the phone? What time did somebody get the phone? This is it's been very, very sus. Carrie Roberts testified at the trial that she found the phone underneath like John's head or something when they picked him up from the stretcher. But somebody posted a video today that somebody sent me where at that exact time that he's being rolled from the stretcher into the ambulance, she's coming from the other side of the camera. She's not over by the body. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Olivia, I did a post on this a year and a half back, October 2023. We discussed it the other day, and the steps show the exact distance from the front door to where the body was found. You mean from the 36 steps show the 36? So the 80 would have been walking into the house to the back stairs. And I don't know if that basement staircase is one staircase down or if it's like, how some staircases have like a staircase and then there's a landing and then there's another staircase, right? Kate says exactly. That's why I don't believe Carrie Roberts. But look at how much activity that phone goes in between 6:04 and 6:11. Then from 6:15 to 6:21, it takes another 180 steps. 6:26 to 6:34, another 173. 6:36 to 6:43, another 192 steps. That phone is moving until 8:25 a.m. And then it stops at 8:26 a.m. And it doesn't move again until 11:06. What was happening around 11:06, 11:18, 11:56 was when Jen McCabe's phone started moving, right? Because that's what we said. Her phone didn't start moving again until they were at her house doing her interview. I don't know what to make of it. I'm going to have to go watch Dream Feed Media's video. Here's the distance that John O'Keefe traveled on that same day in meters. The phone doesn't travel after 6:32 a.m. until again, 6:04 a.m. I don't know why this is out of order. 12:21, 10. It should be up here. Again, it stops moving at 8:36 a.m. and then it starts moving again at 11:06. Huh. And here's the floors traveled. Sometime between 12:22:14 and 12:24:37, John O'Keefe's phone went up and or down 3 flights of stairs. This is where it gets interesting. The phone went up or down another flight of stairs around 6:43:31 a.m. And you know what's interesting about that is that, oh, okay. Do you want to come in? Yeah. I'll send you an invite. Hang on. Didn't Lank and all the officers who came to the scene, didn't they all say, oops, come back, come back, come back, grasshopper. All right, hold on a second. Well, let me send you the invite because I'm covering the thing. Hold on. Didn't Lank and Good or whoever went in the house say they never went inside off the front floor, that they were off the first floor? They never went up and down any stairs. So who the hell had that phone going up and down stairs between 6:43? Oh, wait, I need to put it back on the screen for you. Who the hell was going up and down a flight of stairs between 6:43 and 6:55, and then from 7:58 to 7:58, another flight of stairs, 8:26 to 8:26, another flight of stairs, and then 11:19 a.m., another flight of stairs. And that's where it ends for the floor, for the floors. Okay, Olivia, I texted you the thing. So whenever you want to come on, because I'm sure the people have a lot of questions. She's coming. She's coming. Right. They stated that they stayed on the front first floor. One of them said they only came into the foyer, and the other one said we went into the kitchen, or whatever that room was next to the kitchen where they had a table where all the people were partying and dancing and the women were upstairs and apparently the men were in the basement, according to Michael Phelps' podcast. I mean, you guys, there's a lot of interesting stuff here that wasn't let in a trial. Somebody says, don't be hating, says, I don't think the phone ever went outside. Sue says they were calling John O'Keefe's phone to try and find it and probably stuck it outside under his body. Stacey said, is John getting knocked down and back up? According to Dream Feed, he was hit 6 times. 6:36 to 6:43 a.m., 192 steps, says Kate. Kristen says they were certain about the first floor. You are correct. A lot of movement. Margaret said, why didn't they turn the phone off when they found the phone? This would give the only information they needed. Here she is. All right, I'm going to take the exhibit off so that you can, and then if you want me to put it back up. Everyone, welcome my friend Olivia Nile / Olivia Lambo. Hi, honey.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I was just enjoying watching the show, eating some ice cream.
Oh, good. It's ice cream tonight. So
Mhm.
we'll take that off and we'll put us here and then you can roll with it. If you want me to put it back up, let me know.
Yeah, I mean, whatever
Well, you
you
tell
think
me
is
what
best.
you want to look at while you're talking about it and what you want to talk about.
So something interesting in John O'Keefe's data um, that I was digging into, if you look at the distance, yeah, so I think that's what you have right now. Yeah, the distance,
Mhm.
it's the time. So the timestamps are out of order for this. You'll see that the 12:20, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
What is it? 12:21:10 to 12:24:22 or something like that, like around
Right.
the same time the flights of stairs are being climbed.
Mhm.
So unlike step and flights of stairs data in Apple Health, distance data in Apple Health actually incorporate it actually incorporates like GPS location services to estimate the distance that's being traversed. So what that means is that that is a measure within the Apple Health app that, for instance, if your phone's put into airplane mode, um, it wouldn't keep accurately determining or logging distance data because it requires a connection to either a network or a satellite or something like that. But like the steps and flights of stairs data would keep logging. And do you remember I was talking with you, I think it was like last Sunday or the first time I came on,
Mhm.
about how uh there's this phenomenon where when a cell phone goes into like a basement, for instance, or even sometimes just into a building, the cell phone, because it uses that AGPS, that hybrid assisted GPS hybrid system, which uses not just satellite, it uses cell towers, Wi-Fi, a combination of different sources to determine location. When somebody or when a cell phone goes into a building, but specifically when it goes into a basement, what often happens is the AGPS system on the phone will transfer from using satellite to source its location data over to using cell towers to source its location data, which are far less precise and far less accurate. And so if you think about it, if John is going into the house and like, quickly, he takes his shoes off, quickly runs down into the basement or something, which is reflected by the flights of stairs climbed, because that's like from 12:21 to 12:24.
Mhm. Back
Um,
up.
it would
Oops.
stand to reason that John's GPS location data, upon entering the house and upon going down into the basement, it stands to reason that his GPS location data would at that moment become less accurate and less precise because it's most likely making that transfer over to cell towers rather than satellite. And so that actually would, the distance data where it shows the distance data for 12:21 to 12:24, the same time he's climbing flights of stairs, being out of order in that listing of all the data,
Mhm.
can be explained by the phone later getting better service, better signal at a later point, and it updates its Apple Health data because it's basically like registering that data in after the fact, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. Yeah.
And so that's, I mean, I don't know for certain that that's why that data point for distance specifically is out of order, but it makes the most sense to me because when you factor in the fact that that's the one thing in Apple Health, unlike steps and flights of stairs, that is tied to having some sort of connection, whether it be satellite or whether it be cell tower or Wi-Fi, which further kind of supports the notion that the signal, not just the cell tower signal, but also the any connection to satellite in that area is terrible.
Right. They talked about that a lot.
Yeah, and the other thing that from Richard Green's testimony that you and I were going over yesterday, where he talks about how like the night before he had done this an additional analysis of the GPS data, where he filtered it down to GPS location data points that had an accuracy of 3 meters or greater.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going back through that, and I think when we talked about it yesterday, I didn't quite understand what he was getting at there, but now I understand why he did that. So the reason why he did that is because Nicholas Guarino, in his GPS report for John's phone data, basically says, because you'll notice he doesn't give you all the raw data there.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of give you their self-curated snapshot of what what they want you to see, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that for his GPS location data points, you know, when he's on his way to the house and when he's arrived at 34 Fairview, we only looked at GPS data points of a certain accuracy, and basically he's claiming that the GPS data points that they were looking at were far more accurate than what actually existed in the data, because Richard Green was like, okay, let me see if the accuracy level that they're claiming to have used as their cutoff point, you know, 3 meters or 4 meters, um, if there are even any data that exist with that high of an accuracy. And so Richard Green did that, right? He filtered down to 3 meters accuracy on Cellhawk, and he saw that there were no data points. So that means that none of the data points had a level of accuracy like that, like Guarino was trying to represent in his report or at trial.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you look at the diagrams that are attached to Guarino's report that
I
kind
don't
of
think I
show
have
like
any diagrams
maps.
on this one.
Yeah, so Guarino's report is
Oh, on
in the,
Garino's. Yeah.
yeah,
This
that's
is
in
this is Green's. Yeah.
their opposition to the SJC, but I can send it to you. I took just his report because it's a 188-page document. So I took his report
Oh, I
out
think
and
I
made
have
like
that.
its
That's
own
the
PDF.
SJC brief. I think I have it.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Okay.
Commonwealth's opposition.
Uh-huh. I do have
Um,
that somewhere in here. Let me just find it.
but yeah, in his diagrams for that, I was taking a closer look at those diagrams, and they have I don't even know what software he's using, because he claims that they pulled the data from Celebrite and Axiom and then plugged it into a search and rescue app, which just makes no sense. But the diagrams that he put in his report use Trax, which is a completely different software. So like I don't really know what the story is with that. But the diagrams, they show basically a map to like represent, you know, the location of his phone moving down the street, and like when they're in front of the house. And some of them have a little key, like a little box with different values like latitude and longitude written in the box for that given data point. And the degrees of accuracy that are provided in those boxes on the diagrams that have them are not equal to what is depicted on the diagram itself. So like the circle that he draws for John's location at that point in time
Mm-hmm.
is different than what the degrees of accuracy value is in the box. I'm not explaining this very well because it's
Yeah, it's hard to do
um
without the thing. I'm looking at this was
but
from,
long story short, it's basically to say that the data is different from what he's depicting in the diagrams. So I mean, what is really reliable from his analysis is my question.
Right. Right.
What, if anything?
What, if anything, is reliable that Guarino did at all? What do you make of the phone traveling up a couple of floors after John O'Keefe was no longer among the living? 6:43.
Right. So I did a while ago I was looking at this because I was like, actually, I think it was Yellow Cottage Cheese who was starting to claim on Twitter that the EMTs took his phone with them in the ambulance, and that's
Right.
why it's like moving around. So I went in and I did an analysis looking at, I was like, I wanted to know what time the ambulance left 34 Fairview and what time it arrived at the hospital, and what time there's a flight of stairs climbed at 6:43 a.m., which is before the ambulance arrives at the hospital. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of debunks that whole
Debunks.
claim.
Yep.
Um,
It was never very clear at trial who found the phone and who it was given to. Carrie Roberts claims that she found the phone and she picked it up and she gave it to somebody. She has no idea who. Did anybody ever testify that they came into possession of the phone at the scene of 34 Fairview?
no, I mean, the only paper trail that we have, the most contemporaneous paper trail that exists regarding John's cell phone is Nicholas Guarino's report that that Michael Proctor took possession of the phone at the scene, and basically accounting for how Guarino came into possession of the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's remarkable in this case, if you look at like the procedural history of everything, how it's only after the defense um exposes something or confronts an inconvenient fact for the Commonwealth that they
Mm-hmm.
react with an inexplicable, explanation
Yeah.
explanation for it. So it's like when the defense was essentially accusing Michael Proctor of planting taillight evidence at the scene. What a coincidence that Michael Morrissey comes out and makes his
Such a
hostage
coincidence.
video saying Michael Proctor was never at the
Michael
34 Fairview.
Proctor never went to the scene at 34th Avenue on January 29th of 2020 of 2022. This has to stop. This has to
Exactly.
stop.
And also it's like, I remember when that came out, seeing that video, and like my first thought was, and that's supposed to make us all feel better that the lead investigator didn't go to the scene of the murder
Yep.
on day one, ground zero. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, he never went there. That's great, right? I
It's
watched the
almost,
Las Vegas cops who I had the opportunity to meet. Love those guys. And they were like, that's the first thing
oh
we would do if
yeah.
we were assigned to this case is go to the scene. That's the first thing we would do. That's inexplicable that he wouldn't show up at the scene.
Yeah, they were
Inexplicable.
bewildered by that.
Yeah.
I remember that.
What about
Yeah.
Jen McCabe's movements and heart rate and all that stuff? What do you make of that?
Um, well, so I did some more analysis during the trial as testimony was coming out, and comparing things to Jen's Apple Health data. So one thing, I did a few posts on these issues. One thing is Jen McCabe claims in her testimony that when they went to John's house to look for John, even though he was missing from his house,
Right. Went back to his house. Of course, they had to.
Jen claims that she went inside to help look for John or whatever, and that she went upstairs and like looked in his bedroom, he wasn't there, and then Jen gave that, kind of dramatic speech about how she went into John's niece's bedroom to comfort her and console her.
Right.
But Jen McCabe's Apple Health data does not corroborate this story, because her Apple Health data show that she didn't climb any flights of stairs at the time that they were at John's house.
Oh, right.
So that's a problem. And another problem is that Jen, when the witnesses were confronted with the fact that they were never separated, right? That's usually the first thing you do, immediately separate the witnesses. I was
Mm-hmm.
actually watching the body cam footage that came out today for that that case down.
The sheriff?
Oh gosh, yeah, the sheriff and the judge, and
Mm-hmm.
the police, the first thing they are saying on the body cam after arriving at the scene is, did they separate the witnesses? Are they separated?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
That's what
so
they're supposed to
anyway,
do.
right, it's almost like, there's SOP for a reason.
Yeah.
Um, but so they all go to Jen McCabe's house to get interviewed, right? And
Mm-hmm.
as you were just talking about in your stream, why did they leave 34 Fairview to go to Jen McCabe's house for that? They literally have to drive past the Canton Police Department on
Mm-hmm.
their way. That makes no
Right.
sense.
Right.
And
It's
go
not the way it's
ahead.
supposed to be done. It's they're, friendly. They're waiting for a friendly. Come on. We
Right.
know.
And so anyway, so they're discussing you know why weren't these witnesses separated when they're being interviewed at Jen's house? And they claimed in their testimony that actually we were, like, Jen claims that she went upstairs to her bedroom while Michael Proctor and Yuri Buchanan were interviewing Matt McCabe or Brian Albert, for instance. But Jen McCabe's Apple Health data, yet again, does not corroborate this because it doesn't show flights of stairs being climbed at that time when she's claiming she went upstairs to be separated from the witnesses during their
That's
interviews.
right.
So
That's right. Except, why am I not seeing on here? Hold on. Let's put this back on. You see her Apple Health distance. I see her steps. All right, here's her steps. Apple Health distance. Is it not attached to this? The flights? Heart rate.
it should be.
And I've got John
Oh,
O'Keefe's steps.
That's weird.
John O'Keefe's distance. John O'Keefe's floors. It's a little like out of order, and I may be missing a page or two.
Yeah, this looks like the whatever document you're looking at must be missing it. How many
I'll have to-
pages are in the document that you are looking at right now?
19 total.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's not.
I know I'm missing also the last page of his affidavit, so it's not here. We'll have to
Yeah,
come
I'll
back for
send
that.
you. It's 37 pages, the whole thing.
Oh, okay. So there's a lot more data that I don't have because we don't have the time to go through it anyway, so that's okay.
Yeah. I just
So
sent
you guys
it.
can go look for Olivia's old tweets because she puts all of this stuff together. This must have been like from 2023 when you were doing this.
Yeah, well, so the thing about how John O'Keefe's Apple Health data shows at like 12/31/50 to 12/32/16 or something like that. It shows that burst of steps that are taken.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in like the fall of 2023 when I was like calculating. Well, I wanted to see how far the distance was from the front door of either front door, just that area in general, the front portion of 34 Fairview, to where John O'Keefe's body was later found. And it calculated out to almost exactly the distance that was covered.
36 steps.
Yeah, so 36 steps, and I think it's like I don't know if you have his distance right there. I should pull it up on my phone, but the distance is like
Yeah.
exactly.
Let's see. This is at 12:31.
I can pull it up. I do have it all.
You have it handy. Hold on.
Yeah.
Jen
Okay, I've
McCabe's
got it.
distance.
So it's it's 25.46 meters.
Oh, and that's exactly the distance from where his body was allegedly found to the front
I
door?
mean, everything's going to be approximate, but it's pretty
Right.
uncanny that it's like
Oh, here's the
the
distance right here.
approximate distance.
Okay, so it's 25.46 meters.
Here, I can also send you the tweet I did on it because I did a Google Maps where you can see the measurement and everything.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, so it's troubling when the digital data they tell the truth. It tells a different story than what the Commonwealth is putting forward.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it sure does. All right, if
And
you send me
another
that, go ahead. Oops.
another thing, because you were talking earlier about the butt dials, right?
Yep.
Um, and I know we previously talked about how Jen McCabe's claim that she was making butt dials, like right after Karen and John arrived outside, kind of, from that time up until a bit before 1 a.m., I want to say. She said that those were butt dials, but I believe it was Sarah Levinson who testified. And I think Jen also testified how she plugged her phone in right when she got to 34 Fairview, so her phone wouldn't be in her butt pocket.
Right.
And it's corroborated by her Apple Health data, because when you look at the Apple Health data, since Jen has two sources for her Apple Health data, her watch and her iPhone, when you look at like long stretches of time where her iPhone stops logging movement data, but the watch continues to, that seems to be in line with the phone being plugged in and charging, therefore not moving with the person.
Right.
So that kind, like, how are you making butt dials if your phone isn't in your butt pocket like you claimed it was? But the other question I have about the butt dials thing is, how are you butt dialing somebody so many times, uh but yet, like, think about this, Melanie. If
Mm-hmm.
someone butt dials you or you butt dial someone nowadays,
It goes to
usually,
voicemail.
right, usually the way you become aware of it is because you get like a 2-minute long voicemail from someone where it's just like they're not saying anything, and it's, making all these weird sounds, like, oh, that must have been a butt dial, right? How
Yep.
did none of Jen McCabe's calls leave a voicemail? How do they all magically hang up right before it gets to the point where it would record a voicemail? Is that
'Cause
another coincidence?
you got to physically hang up the phone before it gets there. You have to push a button. You have to push end on the phone.
Yep.
Right? I mean, like, that's just common sense type stuff, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it
Oh,
strains
okay. I have her.
credulity.
Okay, now I see what you're saying. I have her. Let me stop that and then present this. Her going up and down the floors. Okay, good. So this is her floor data.
Yeah.
Apple Health floors. So at 2:23 a.m.
So that's when she's arrived at her house.
Uh-huh.
I think she's going upstairs to her bedroom.
Yeah. And then coming down maybe at 5:30, going back up 5:30 or 5:32, then going back up at 5, I don't know. 6:35. What time did they get to One Meadows? Yeah, it was definitely after 5:32 and before 6:35, because they were back at 34 Fairview by 6:03 or something. 6:04 when she makes the 911 call.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can find the posts I did on this, but I like calculated the exact timing with other data points to determine and I think it's also in Richard Green's report where he discusses Jen's location data. I think
I've got it here.
also references,
I've
the
got
time
to
they arrive.
check this out. Here's their.
Yeah, that's what I use also as a reference point.
We've got all the receipts. This is her interview. She says, using a cell phone application called Life 360, Jennifer was able to provide the following times. 5:39 a.m., Karen arrived at the McCabe's residence. 5:46 a.m., Jennifer, Karen, and Kerry arrive at the John O'Keefe house. 5:53 a.m., they leave John O'Keefe's house. So that would mean that if she went upstairs to look for him, it would have had to have been between 5:46 and 5:53.
I
And
think that
her data shows she took a flight of stairs at 5:32 and then another one at 6:35. There's nothing in between those times.
yeah. Yep.
Yep. So Life 360 is accurate when she wants to give her statement on January 29th. This was
It's so funny, isn't
Proctor's
it?
statement that he took at her house, right?
Yeah.
At
Was it
11:30 a.m. So when she wants to pull out receipts for Proctor, that's when Life 360 is accurate, but it's not when it has anything to do with her daughter.
But the just the irony, like
Thank you,
the
Rochelle.
the irony of all of this, because the Life 360 GPS location data is not accurate for
Right.
Allie McCabe when
No.
it contradicts the whole claim about how she got Colin Albert out of there, but yet the GPS location data are what they are using as their big thing that proves John didn't go in the house, even
Right.
though they didn't do any forensic analysis of it. But that's a different story. It's like you said, it can't be a sword and a shield.
Right. Right. Debbie wants to know, could the 604 steps be from Karen frantically pacing with it in her hand? When did she get to 34 Fairview? She never touched the phone, did she?
I mean,
That we're
there's
aware
no
of.
evidence of that.
Right.
And
Or Carrie, do you mean Carrie Roberts, Debbie? You mean Carrie? I don't know. Thanks,
I
Debbie.
think she meant Jen, because Karen and Carrie were both providing CPR to John.
Right. I mean, there's a theory that the phone was inside the house and somebody came outside the house and put it there at some point.
Yeah, look, I mean, I don't know who had John's phone that morning. But it certainly doesn't, it suggests that somebody had to have had it, because it's moving around and taking steps. And by the way, the whole, because I've seen some people suggest that the steps and movement that were being logged at that time were due to CPR, but
Mhm.
it doesn't line up, because there's not steps being logged. Let me just see. So
Here's one of the tweets that you sent me. It says,
oh yeah, I sent you a
um,
few. Yeah, the last steps.
is this the one you wanted to look at? The last steps taken on John O'Keefe's cell phone from 12:31:56 a.m. to 12:32:16 a.m., 20 seconds, moments after Jen McCabe called his phone for an 8 seconds long call, 12:29:44 a.m., shows his phone took a total of 36 steps, or a distance of 25.46 meters. Converted, this equals 83.6 feet. The distance from the front living room door of the Alberts 34 Fairview home to the location where John's body was later found, placed atop his cell phone, is approximately 83 feet. Is this why the window watchers, Jenna Matt McCabe and Julie Nagel, so eagerly and intently watched Karen Reed's every move, notably seeing her never strike anyone with her car because they wanted to make sure she didn't come in, but also so they could go promptly put John's phone outside the second Karen pulled away, where they'd later put his body? That's interesting. Is this why Jen McCabe deleted her 12:29:44 a.m. phone call to John O'Keefe and later lied about it, claiming it was a butt dial out of consciousness of guilt because she was calling then to locate his cell phone from a presumably incapacitated John and already begin the cover up? One thing's for sure, it's no coincidence that his phone's last series of steps taken span the exact distance from the front door to where his body was later found, providing further proof that John O'Keefe was inside that house. Look at you, girl. Look at
That's
you.
back in October 2023.
Yeah, look at the date on
think-
this.
I think
It's
that's
hold on. October 21st, 2023.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like
And you got all the receipts. All the receipts. We looked at that.
so I just pulled up I'm looking at his his step data again.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've seen some people claim that the steps that were being logged on John's phone in the morning were due to CPR being administered to him. But the only problem with that is that his steps uh, stop logging any steps being taken or any data between 6:11:30 to 6:15:14 a.m., which is, I think, like the time that the EMTs themselves start providing CPR to John, which, if anything, would probably be more aggressive, more intense CPR than like Karen and Carrie were providing. So if there's anything that would have accidentally caused the phone to misinterpret CPR for steps, it certainly would have been that. But just the fact that it's not logging step data during all the times that CPR is being administered kind of debunks that proposition.
Yeah.
It's also, it's funny because the Commonwealth in Guarino's GPS report, they're trying to, because you remember they put that GPS report out in response to the defense's, that affidavit you were just going through from
Mm-hmm.
Richard Green, and all those really damning, findings, like the flights of stairs climbed is really problematic for John if he didn't go into a house upon arriving at a house. And
Right.
so they were trying to essentially say, no, you can't trust Apple Health data. They're unreliable. At first, their argument for that was that John's cell phone shows him taking steps in the morning at, 8 whatever a.m. and 11 whatever a.m. And Alan Jackson, in response to Lally at that pretrial hearing, he was like, well, yeah, that's because your officers failed to secure the evidence. That doesn't mean the thing that is tracking or logging the data is doing it incorrectly. It just means that whoever was holding John's phone at the time was taking steps with it. And uh
Mm-hmm.
and so then they shifted the goalposts and they were like, okay, well, that explanation isn't going to work. So now we need to try and discredit the Apple Health data by making the GPS location data show, oh no, John didn't arrive. He wasn't even outside of the house or at the house at the time that it shows him climbing flights of stairs. So they just had to basically, in their GPS report, offset the data by, what that monotonic offset is. It's about 3 minutes and 1 second. So at a minimum, they needed to make it look as though John's GPS data shows him arrive. And conveniently enough, there's a way that they could do that by exploiting that time programming discrepancy. It's funny how they're only pulling that GPS location data from Waze.
Right.
Why aren't they looking at it from all the sources on the phone? Well, because if it's a native iPhone app or another app that doesn't use monotonic time, it would show that that's just BS.
Right.
And so, yeah, the way that like the goalposts shift but the other problem is in the GPS report, they're trying to use GPS as a measure of one's movements, right?
Right.
And but that's problematic, of course, because someone can be moving with a cell phone while it's logging no location or GPS data if their phone's in airplane mode, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's in airplane mode, it will still log steps in Apple Health. It will still log flights of stairs climbed in Apple Health. And they actually claimed in their GPS report that John's phone stops showing movement at 12:25 a.m. and it doesn't show any movement throughout. It basically doesn't log any GPS data or show any movement until 6:15 a.m. But the
Mm-hmm.
Apple Health data immediately refutes that, right? Because it shows him moving after 12:25 a.m. Steps are being taken.
Right.
And then it shows steps are being taken at 6:04 a.m., long before 6:15 a.m. So that's kind of why I believe that phone had to have been put into airplane mode, or something that was turning off the ability for it to have a signal to location services. So GPS, cell tower, anything
Or
like
just
that.
if would you be able to tell through a Celebrite extraction or any of the extractions whether the phone was powered off?
Well, this is the thing that's so infuriating to me. Like, I mean, I don't know if you watch the Murdaugh trial or
Yeah.
just like any other trials, really.
Mhm.
The um the level of detail that they're able to show for the cell phone data. I mean, you can see when someone picks an iPhone up off of a table, right?
Right.
Because most modern iPhones, when you pick it up off a table, the screen will light up. So it
Mhm.
has it has sensors in it that detect things like that. And that's all logged in an iPhone and can be seen in a forensic extraction. And so can, I mean, I was looking at this case like the other day that's from
Mhm.
like, I want to say 10 or 15 years ago. And these two girls were like on a hiking trip and they disappeared, but their phones were later found, but the phones were like completely waterlogged. And they still, from these waterlogged phones, they were able to get detailed information down to the time that the
Yeah.
phone was turned on and off, and the
Yeah.
time that a password was attempted or entered, whether it was entered incorrectly or correctly. So, like, why don't we have that kind of stuff for John's phone
That's a great point.
or any of the phones in this case? You know, it's like,
You can tell when it was plugged in, when somebody
mm-hmm.
plugged a charger into it, right? Didn't they in Delphi, didn't they figure that out? Like they said that there was a cord attached to it at a certain time.
Oh yeah, well in Delphi it was so that was back when there were still like headphone jacks or audio jacks, I
Oh, it was
believe.
yeah.
And they were able to detect that at a time that was like in the middle, like later, long after Richard Allen had
It was a
left the
headphone
crime
jack, right?
scene, that something was plugged into the headphone jack, and it was like a millisecond. It was like right
That's what I was
after an
talking about.
incoming call was coming into the phone.
Right. But like I'm wondering, like, couldn't they tell, like, if like because Jen McCabe said she plugged her phone in. Like, wouldn't they be able to tell when the phone was plugged into a charger?
Right, yeah, I mean, I don't know why. They should
Interesting.
be able to. They should be able to. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I don't know. This needs to be clarified so much more in the next trial. I'll put up this Lindsay Clancy tweet that you did if you want to read it. 'Cause my voice is getting tired. I just want to thank Anne for the coffee. Thank you, Anne, for the coffee, and OFD. Thank you for the coffee and for thanking me for believing in Free Karen Reed. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. All right, Olivia, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I sent you that because I know we've referenced it a few times lately, but um this is for the Lindsay Clancy case, which yeah, this same state police investigated. All right, so during the arraignment of Lindsay Clancy, Duxbury mother accused of killing her 3 children, the same investigating force, the Massachusetts State Police and the state, used Clancy's Apple Health data, specifically the 3 flights of stairs it showed she climbed, as evidence to build their timeline. That's because Apple Health data provides an incredibly detailed purview into the movements of an individual involved in a sus uh, crime, suspect, or victim. See the Murdaugh murder trial. In the Karen Reed case, however, the 3 flights of stairs John O'Keefe climbed after being dropped off at 34 Fairview, strongly suggesting he did go inside the house, as there's no staircase on Fairview Road or in Karen's Lexus,
Yeah.
are inconvenient facts to the continued cover-up of the murder of a Boston Police Department cop. This is what we call cherry-picking facts and evidence, and displays the utter hypocrisy of this prosecution, given the state's strong reliance on Google search history data and Apple Health data in many of their other criminal prosecutions. Brian Walsh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, why are data a steadfast evidentiary type greatly relied upon by law enforcement? Because people lie, data don't. Is that the end of it?
Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, go ahead. Nope.
Oh God. Oh yeah. I think
Oh,
everybody
fun
probably
fact,
knows
the
this by
attorney Kevin
now.
Reddington representing Lindsay Clancy, mother accused of murdering her 3 children, is also the attorney representing Jen McCabe because innocent witnesses need high-powered murder defense attorneys.
And this is the video from that.
Yeah.
The bed.
Okay, let's hear it.
Immediately after the phone call from Patrick, Lindsay Clancy's fitness app on her watch, which is connected to her phone, shows that she went up 3 flights. In her home, there was the finished basement level, the first floor level, which is the living area, and then the second floor level, which is the bedroom area where her bedroom was. And it shows that she went up those 3 flights immediately after the phone call from where she spoke with her husband. When Patrick arrived home, the first thing he noticed was silence, which is unusual with 3 small children in the house. He did not. Immediately after the phone call from Patrick,
There you go.
Lindsay Clancy's fitness app on her watch, which is connected to her phone, shows that she went up 3 flights. In her home, there was the finished basement level, the first floor level, which is the living area, and then the second floor level, which is the bedroom area where her bedroom was. And it shows that she went up those 3 flights immediately after the phone call from where she spoke with her husband. When Patrick arrived home, the first thing he noticed was silence, which is unusual with 3 small children in the house.
I think it's on loop.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, it's in the same county too, right? Is it the same county?
I think it's a different county. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's either Plymouth or Bristol, I want to say.
Thank you, Laura, for your super chat. Height and stride affects number of steps. True. I'm 5 feet tall. Therefore, I take more steps. Tall John goes farther on less steps. That is true. Turtle Boy was here earlier and he said, I finally got my Celebrite download of my phone to load on my computer. There are no communications with Karen Reed and no screenshots of messages with her. Another Commonwealth fail.
Well, would you look at that?
Imagine. Shocked, but not shocked.
Not that it's a crime, not that it would have been a crime if there was.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's the whole thing about this 227 search. Whether it happened or not, it has nothing to do with whether or not John O'Keefe was hit by a car. So,
Right. That's my
Again.
main question to people. Like, it plays no role in
none.
proving Karen Reed's guilt, right? Like, and what does play a role though is where John O'Keefe was, right?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so, like, the Commonwealth was faced with a number of these inconvenient facts at the same time. They're faced with the defense revealing the Google search, the
Mhm.
incriminating Google search, the flights of stairs climbed after John's location GPS data shows him at the house, and the flights being climbed, is like one of those binary confirmations. It's like, categorically, did he go in the house? Did he not go in the house? Well, this is a great way of showing that he did go in the house. Flights of
Right.
stairs being climbed.
Mhm.
And instead of trying to get independent expert witnesses like Ian Whiffen and Jessica Hyde to show, where John O'Keefe was in this space and time, because that's incredibly relevant to proving Karen Reed hit him.
Yep.
And if the defense is saying he went in the house, wouldn't you want those expert witnesses, Jessica Hyde and Ian Whiffen, to look at that data, look at John O'Keefe's cell phone?
Yep.
But they specifically only sought out these experts to defend Jen McCabe's Google search, which
Mhm.
if it ever in a hypothetical world were debunked, that doesn't help to further incriminate Karen Reed.
Nope.
Like that.
But if it's proven, it definitely makes Karen Reed innocent.
This is true.
Right?
Yes.
So we got that. But again, right. If it's debunked, it doesn't make any difference.
Well, it's like, if you're going to go out of your way to hire these people, when there's these multiple facts of digital evidence that are in dispute, why would you limit their, what they can look at? Wouldn't you aren't you trying to clear out, like, get clarity on all
the
of
truth?
those things in
No,
dispute?
you don't want the
Right.
truth. You don't want the truth. You want a conviction. Come on now, Libby. Don't be silly. It's Massachusetts. Thanks,
And the
Life
other
Glory
thing-
360 for the win for the 20.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, and sorry. And Brian from the Goodmans, Mr. Goodman came in. They like to they fight. My favorite couple, the Goodmans. They do competing like Venmo super chats. And so thank you, Brian, Mr. B, Mr. G, Mr. Goodman, Brian Goodman. Thank you so very much. Because we love you. You're a favorite cupcake. And you're love your favorite couple, because they are my favorite couple. And thanks, Lori. No, they're not looking for the truth here. They're looking for a conviction. They are looking to keep this runs so much deeper, I think, than anybody can even imagine. And that is the only reason that I can think of that they are going to such great lengths to protect some people who may have the private cell phone number of Michael Marcy. And, you know, I mean, that's just, it is what it is, because there's no other reason. There can't, if anybody has another reason that you can put in the chat for me, I'd love to hear it. Why are they putting so much time and effort into defending Jennifer McCabe's 227? And if how long to die from hypothermia is a suggested search, why wouldn't she just click on that one?
Right.
Right?
Right. Well, the Commonwealth has failed to prove that Karen Reed ever asked her to Google that in the morning. And they have dash cam footage at the scene. And Jen McCabe, in her most contemporaneous interview, where she talks about how Karen purportedly asked her to Google that,
Right.
says that that occurred when they're sitting in the back of a police cruiser.
Yeah, they're going to have to
So where's
focus
the
on that
dash
too.
cam for
They're
that?
going to have to now focus on all of her lies, because she's not going to be able to keep them all straight, because they're, you know, she's testified so many times now
But the
that she's
dash
got to keep
cam,
all of those stories straight.
the dash cam footage does actually prove that she did lie at the first trial here,
Yeah.
because she claims that Karen was asking her to Google that when John's body is being moved on a stretcher to the back of the ambulance. But that occurred at like 12:15. Or, sorry, not 12:15, 6:15. And Jen McCabe didn't do her Google searches until 6:23, 6:24. We can see the dash cam footage of where Jen and Karen are when John's body's being moved to the ambulance. And they're actually, Jen at that point was talking to Saraf, Officer Saraf. She was, her and Karen had their backs to one another. They weren't even
Right.
talking.
Right. Then I think maybe
So,
that's something to focus on next time as well. I'm so sorry, Janelle. Janelle's cat just died. I'm so sorry. R.I.P. Remy. I'm so sorry. Everyone
I'm
is,
sorry. That is awful.
that is
That's the
terrible.
hardest thing.
And what was the answer that she got? Right. How long does it take to die in cold? What is the answer to that question?
But that question is so relevant to so many things in this case.
Yeah.
Like, why wasn't, oh, what is this one?
Well, Amy's just baffled. She doesn't get it. She's new tonight, so she was sort of surprised how nice everyone was to her. It blew her away. So thanks, Amy, for coming in. Yeah, I don't know. I got to be in bed now, so it's getting late for me. But anybody have any last minute questions, thoughts, comments, concerns before we wrap this evening at 12:20 a.m. on the East Coast? And the 3-year anniversary of the death of the murder of Officer Don O'Keefe is coming up on January 29th.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That just reminded me of something I heard earlier, which I don't know the full context of the story, but I mean, this is just so troubling. Apparently, you know who Peter Murphy is, right?
Uh-huh.
Ex-Canton Police Department.
Yeah, he was like a sergeant for like 30 years.
Yeah, exactly. And he's been very vocal, you know, a member of the Free Karen Reed community, goes to the standouts and stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, I heard earlier that apparently there's a church right next to the Canton Police Department that I guess recently installed trespassing, like do not trespass or trespassing signs or something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I'm hearing, they were covered with snow at the time, so people weren't even aware of them. But long story short, apparently Canton Police Department criminally charged Peter Murphy, or they charged Peter Murphy with criminal trespassing
What?
because I think he was either parked at the church or, you know, there because he was participating in a standout recently.
Today? Was it
I
today?
believe it happened within the past few days, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, I don't have all of the
That's insane.
facts, but
I had no idea. I like Peter Murphy
it's
a lot.
terrible. I mean, how could you
Well, I
It's
mean, they protect their own unless one of their own steps out and, speaks out against what they did. I don't know. That's what,
yeah, well, and I mean that's also a very discretionary thing because from what I'm understanding, it's not like there's a record of him doing, like he's done this repeat, like it's a repeated
happened
quote
today,
unquote
Margaret says.
offense. Um,
That's
oh, okay,
insane.
thanks, Margaret. Yeah, and I mean, so these are like, like actually most things when it comes to police, discretionary, right?
Of
Like
course. Selective enforcement of the law.
exactly. Yeah, like just like littering, right?
Uh-huh. That's
So
insane.
yeah,
I
when I
feel
heard that, I
terrible
was
for him.
really,
All right, we'll have to dig into that a little bit more and
oh yeah,
get some more
I'll keep
information
you
on that.
updated if I hear anything else.
Wow.
But
All
yeah,
right.
just a shout out to Peter because Peter Murphy is
He's a good guy.
incredible and incredibly
He's a good
strong for
guy. No.
speaking out. I mean, as a former police officer who worked at
Hmm.
that department, I have tremendous respect for him. So
I do
he's
too.
going to probably need
100%. People are
support.
like, he didn't have a date. No, he's not a cop currently, but he's retired Canton police sergeant. He was I think he was a sergeant at Canton PD for like over 30 years. And I think he still lives in town. And he's in my loop at the beginning of my intro. There's a picture of Peter and I, with the Justice for John O'Keefe sign that he had when I met him one day outside the courthouse.
Yeah, he's awesome. And he's been on, he goes on, various shows. Um, so he's out there.
That's terrible. Oh, look, it's only 9:21 over here on the West Coast. You're on the best coast, Jerry. You're on the best coast. I want to go there. Oh, you're in Canada though. Well, Canada's great too, but I do like California. All right, prayers for Peter Murphy, everyone. Prayers up for Peter Murphy. Let's do what we can to support him because he really is one of the good guys.
And
He has a
brave.
really good heart.
He does.
He has a really good heart. All
Well,
right.
thank you
Anything
for
else you
having
got,
me
Liv?
on.
All
No,
right.
I
Good
think we're
night,
both.
everyone. Thank you. Smash the like button on your way out. Stay safe. Keep your head on a swivel. Thank you to the moderators for keeping it classy tonight. I think there was only one or two that were given boarding passes. I'm not even sure how many. And here it is. Peter Murphy was parked at the church. Not positive was an actual citation warning. I don't know. We don't know. So that's all we know for now is rumor and speculation, but hopefully free Peter Murphy will be our next,
To be followed up on.
yeah, TBD. Good night, everyone. Do all the things that YouTube likes. Smash the like button on your way out. Comment respectfully. Be nice to each other. Subscribe. It's free. And click the notification bell so you'll know when I go live because oftentimes, like today, it was within 30 minutes or less. So you never want to miss a beat. Stay cool, stay kind, stay classy. I know you guys can do it. I know you guys can because you're better than the rest. Peace, everyone.
Bye.